We're doing cinematic masterpiece, the movie that put Marvel on the map and like really just shot the Marvel Cinematic Universe into being, Howard the Duck. So tonight joining us, we've got Angie's going to be doing the heavy lifting with the scene description. We've got George is going to be our Howard the Duck, which disappointingly they removed Snap Camera. Now we're all just boring people again. I will be doing Beverly. Logan's going to be our Dr. Jennings, our evil dude. We've got Eric is going to be our Phil Blumbert, which is just like the bumbliest name ever. We've got Thea joining us. Yay, Thea. She's going to be multiple characters, including like Richie and Bag Lady. Such a special character. We've got excuse me, we've got Jamie. She's going to be the narrator and Ginger and such wonderful characters as Lover Girl. And yeah, we've also got Travis, who's going to be Punk. I think that's fitting. And we've got Rudy, who's going to be Dr. Chapin. So, without further ado, let's get the ball rolling.
Howard the Duck, screenplay by Willard Hayek and Gloria Katz. Fade in, interior, an apartment sunset. The last light of the day dimly illuminates a small living room. We hear a door open and close. Somebody has entered the apartment and we hear him walking about off screen. A hall light is turned on and reveals a bit more of a shabby living room. An old easy chair, a lamp, a slip-covered sofa, a television, faded landscape reproductions on the wall. Off-screen in the kitchen, we hear a refrigerator open and shut and a bottle clink as it's pulled out. The refrigerator slams shut. A drawer opens. The bottle hisses when its cap is flipped off. Footsteps again. Now a silhouette walks over to the chair and sets a bottle of beer on the end table. It looks something like a duck, but the figure moves out of frame again before we can be positive. After a moment, the figure returns, moves to an easy chair, and sits down. It turns on a lamp. It is a duck! The camera moves in slowly as Howard the Duck opens a bag of pretzels. Howard is 28 years old and 3 feet tall. He wears a rumpled sports jacket over a faded shirt with a badly knotted tie. He sips his beer and picks up a remote control. The television pops on. 2 ducks play championship tennis. Howard changes the channel. Click. A war movie. A duck aviator blasts a machine gun. Click. On a game show, an ecstatic duck winner is presented with a fur coat. Click. A black intern duck lowers her surgical mask and talks intensely while a chief surgeon duck.
Fred, I love you so much it hurts. Why can't society see past the color of our feathers?
Don't let their gossip get to you. You're a great surgeon, darling. I want you to shut your bill, get back in there, and stop your patient's hemorrhaging.
Bored, Howard pulls a magazine off the end table. He opens the play duck and checks the centerfold. Miss May is a sexy little mallard in high heels, stockings, and a smile. Howard's chair vibrates and he looks up. It stops and he shrugs and goes back to the magazine. His chair vibrates again and he looks down puzzled at the floor. The vibration continues and Howard sees framed snapshots of ducks rattling on a shelf. His prized bronze trophy of a duck bowling topples over. Then his chair really starts shaking, and shaking harder, bouncing on its legs, rocking and rolling side to side. Howard puts his beer down awkwardly and tries to stand up. Abruptly, the chair tips back and traps him. Then all hell breaks loose. The easy chair explodes to life and blasts off backwards like a rocket sled. Howard yells and clutches the arms of the chair as it zooms backward down the hall. The chair hurtles down the hall toward the bathroom, smashing the door open. The chair flies across the bathroom and crashes through a wall. Interior, his neighbor's apartment. 2 elderly ducks, reading in bed, startled as Howard rockets across their bedroom in an armchair. Howard yells as the chair crashes through the far wall. Interior, 5th floor hallway. The berserk rocket chair blasts down the main hall past the apartment doors. Emerging from an elevator, a startled young duck couple jumps back as Howard and his easy chair scream by. Feathers blowing, body shaking, Howard sits glued in terror. The hall seems to stretch elastically as he rides the flying chair toward the far end. Finally, there's an explosion of plaster debris and splintered wood as the chair smashes through the wall and crashes out of the building. Exterior, a city street, sunset. A police duck and several surprised duck pedestrians look up at the building when Howard and his easy chair blast out of the apartment into the evening sky. Exterior, the sky, evening. From high above the city, we see the lights twinkling and Howard's easy chair rocketing up toward us. We glimpse Howard holding onto the chair for dear life as he hurtles past us, trapped on a missile heading for some unknown destination. Exterior, the atmosphere, evening. The two moons above the curved horizon of the duck world in the distance, the small outline of Howard's easy chair can be seen rocketing up through the atmosphere. Suddenly, Howard's chair flames out and falls away from him like the burned out shell of a two-stage rocket. The last we see of Howard's, he's hurtling by himself, tumbling heavenward into the darkness of space, screaming his head off. Cut to exterior, the cosmos. The black immensity of space, strewn with seas of stars, swirling nebula, carmine and sea green planets.
The cosmos. Countless worlds upon worlds. Worlds without end.
In the distance, a speck of light appears and grows larger as it moves towards us.
In these galaxies, every possible reality exists.
A form tumbles through space. As the music swells, we recognize a small, fowl-like creature.
And what is reality on any one world is mere fantasy on all others.
Increasing speed as it approaches, the feathered creature's cry of terror grows louder.
Here, all is real and all is an illusion.
We recognize Howard rocketing through space, panicked, desolate, utterly lost.
What is, what was, and what will be start here with the words.
The music reaches a crescendo and the screaming duck hurtles directly into camera.
In the beginning, there was.
The main title hits the screen, Howard the Duck. Exterior, the solar system, another view across a sea of stars, past a silvery planet with hazy rings, and Howard, still yelling, plummets away from camera. Our tumbling, feathered space traveler plunges toward a blue planet we recognize as Earth. Exterior, Earth. Howard continues to yelp as he speeds into Earth's atmosphere. Following Howard, we rocket earthward, recognizing the North and South American continents falling under the shadow of night. Exterior, clouds, night. Somersaulting through layers of moonlit clouds, Howard is sucked down by gravity toward the continental United States. From the air, we see the twinkling lights of an American city. Now we see Howard spinning down toward it. We hear a high-pitched whine like that of a wounded fighter plane in a tailspin. Exterior, the night sky. Looking heavenward, we see lightning strike, and Howard the Duck crashes out of the clouds, still hollering his head off. Exterior, a rooftop, night. High above the city, an aging electric signboard reads, Cleveland Van and Storage. Suddenly, Howard hurtles from the sky and crashes through the decrepit sign. Wood splinters, light bulbs explode. Sparks and feathers fly. Howard hollers again as he bounces off a water storage tank and flies off the edge of the building. Exterior, an alley. Looking up at the night sky, we see Howard plummeting the last 200 feet of his outer space to Earth voyage. His little duck body smashes through a wooden overhang, bounces with a huge bong off of a trash dumpster. He crash lands finally into a broken down, overstuffed chair waiting for the trash collectors. Unlike his own easy chair, this one is human-sized, and Howard is dwarfed by it. Howard sits breathing heavily, eyes staring in shock, and after his spectacular, mind-boggling interstellar journey, he can barely mutter.
Oi,
He looks up quickly. 4 towering figures loom toward him. He tries to run but can't. His webbed foot is stuck in the springs of the chair. A quartet of weird punk rockers come into the light. They look like extraterrestrials themselves as they stare fascinated at the fallen fowl. Howard stares back at the horrifying creatures.
I'm a dead duck.
Grinning drug happily, the punk starts to pick Howard up.
Wow, I'm so totally ripped. I see a little man from Turkestan.
Exterior, a rock club night. Rock music bombards a crowd of freaks pushing toward the back entrance of a small, raunchy rock club.
Hey, Bender, you.
An ugly guy named Bender turns to see the 4 punks elbowing through the crowd. Suddenly, they shove Howard into Bender's arms and push him toward the club.
Go on in, Frankenweenie. Finally found you a date.
Interior the club entrance, Bender staggers into the packed club carrying Howard. Inside, they stare in shock at each other, nose to beak.
Oh no, what is this?
Howard forces a worried, sick smile for this terrifying creature.
Hi, you come here often?
In the background, Cherry Bomb performs on stage. The 4-girl rock band is led by Beverly Switzer, a sexy, slinky 19-year-old. Suddenly, the club bouncer grabs Howard out of Bender's arms.
Hey, those costumes don't fool me. No kids allowed.
Exterior the club night. Howard is flung out the door of the club, flies through the air, and bounces off the top of a car. He crash lands in a rusty shopping cart, which skids into a bag lady rummaging through trash cans. She sees Howard and screams.
I've got a much better idea. Let's talk.
Degenerate?
She starts beating him with her old purse. Howard stands up in the cart and tries to defend himself. In the club, on the stage, Cherry Bomb is cooking. Beverly Switzer struts and wiggles through a fast and sultry solo passage. The sleazy crowd hoots and hollers. Exterior, another alley night. Escaping the hollering bag lady, Howard runs toward the alley, directly into the path of a gargantuan diesel trash truck. As the monster truck roars past, Howard squawks and jumps aside. Howard falls into the doorway. He tries to catch his breath and then hesitates. His hand feels something behind him. We see Howard's little hand moving up, a shapely female leg. Suddenly, a woman's scream pierces the night. Howard whirls to see a couple of shocked lovers staring wide-eyed down at him.
Oh, Christ, it touched me.
What the hell?
I wasn't trying anything. Give me a break. I'm new here.
This city's going down the toilet. Roaches and rats. Now it's filthy alley ducks. Step on it, Billy. Squash it.
Billy swings a piece of wood. Howard ducks, and the board smashes into the wall. Howard backs away and starts running. Interior, the club. On the stage, flaming guitars duel. Beverly wails, and the nasty crowd roars its approval. Exterior, an alley night. Howard pants and staggers as he runs ever more slowly down the dark, mean streets, and he hears something and turns. Headlights flare over him. He sees a legion of motorcycles rumbling down the alley toward him. The noise is deafening. Howard uses the last of his strength to run again. The roaring motorcyclists bear down relentlessly. Just as Howard is about to become another stain on the cement, he sees something and jumps. Howard grabs onto a chain pulley hanging out of a loading dock, and the motorcycles roar beneath him. Howard laughs victoriously, and he swings safely above their heads until Howard looks up and sees the chain pulley ratchet giving way. The chain starts slipping. Howard closes his eyes and falls. He drops and lands. Opening his eyes, he finds himself on the handlebars of the last motorcycle, staring into the bloodshot eyes of one of Satan's slaves. The burly biker and his bleached mama stare in shock at the duck that has become a fender ornament.
You ready for an incredible story?
Oh, wasted, Bear, wasted.
Bear growls and swings his arms. His studded wrist bracelet smashes Howard in the bill and sends him flying. Howard lands with a bang in a garbage can. Interior of the club, Beverly and Cherry Bomb finish their blazing finale. The club freaks howl and cheer, and Beverly bows perfunctorily. Exterior the alley, night. Two glazed eyes peek up above the trash can. Howard looks around and groans. He finally reaches out, picks up the lid, and pulls it on top of the trash can. Interior the trash can. Inside the covered trash can, Howard gasps for breath,
Talk about a rotten day.
and he finally passes out. Cut to exterior the rock club, later, night. The girls of Cherry Bomb run after their disreputable manager, Ginger Moss, as he leaves the club.
Ginger, you promised to get us out of this dump.
Girls, we got to find the perfect spot before we make our move. I'm like molding a career for you. I'm not some funky job droid, you know. I'm an artist.
Ginger's gold earring flashes as they cross the street.
You're our manager. You were supposed to get us money tonight, some money tonight.
Listen, I tried, but the guy just bought the club and he's got a big overhead. Money's tight. Things are tough for everybody.
Ginger's driver, Richie, opens the back door of his customized coupe de ville. Ginger slides into the white leather interior. Car door slams, and he smiles out the window at Beverly.
Anyway, he promised me you'd see Cash next week.
Ginger, if we don't, we're talking.
You may be walking, but you won't be singing. Not without me. We got a contract. I own you, honey.
Ginger puts his hand on top of Beverly's, and she pulls away disgustedly. Ginger rolls up the window, and the caddy zooms off. The angry girls look at each other and start walking forlornly down the now deserted alley.
Guys, I'm giving it 2 more months, then it's adios rock and roll, and
And what? Hello, computer programmer? You want to ride, Bev?
no, I'm gonna see if I can walk off some of my anxiety. Night all.
Nikki.
Her partners say goodnight and turn down the side street. Beverly wanders along morosely. She dance kicks a tin can out of the way. Beverly rounds a corner and yelps when she sees 2 weird guys who've appeared out of nowhere to block her path.
Righteous lady. Love your music.
Great. Thanks. Bye now.
Could I have your autograph on my shirt?
Beverly tries to walk around them, but they follow her like a pair of begging lepers, plucking at her sleeves.
Me too. On my shorts.
Just go away, okay?
Hey, we're talking to you, big rock star.
Skinhead grabs Beverly and shoves her against some trash cans. Interior, a trash can. Hidden inside the trash can, Howard is banged awake. He looks up and the lid falls off with a clang.
Let go of me, creep.
Howard gets a brief view up through the open trash can of Beverly and her assailants' heads.
Don't you go snot nose on us. We're your biggest fans.
Get away.
Beverly knees Pimples, who sinks groaning out of Howard's view, but Skinhead grabs her arm and twists it. Then Howard can't see anymore as they shove Beverly to the ground.
Ow. Oh, let me go. No. Help. Somebody. Help.
Hearing Beverly screaming, Howard grows more and more infuriated until finally he stares directly into the camera.
Okay, that's it. No more Mr. Nice Duck. Yeah!
Howard emits a strange, blood-curdling battle cry. Exterior, the alley. The 2 drug-damaged fans grapple with Beverly on the ground. When they hear a weird howling coming from the trash can, they stop and look. Suddenly, Howard the Duck pops out of the trash can and lands on top of another one. Striking a defiant and aggressive pose, he glares at the sleazoids.
Let the female creature go.
Pimples and Skinhead hold Beverly. They all stare at the strange, feathered apparition.
I've been pounded, trashed, stomped on, and kicked. Every duck has his limit, and you scum have pushed me over the line.
Jimmy, do you like see a talking duck?
Yeah, I guess I've been talking too much too.
Shoot, fly away.
He and Skinhead laugh uproariously and go back to pawing Beverly. Howard growls angrily.
No one laughs at a master of quack foo. Yeah!
Howard jumps off the trash can, bounces off an old car seat, and somersaults through the air. He crashes into Pimples and sends him sprawling. Skinhead whirls, looks surprised, and counterattacks. Beverly sees Howard grab an iron rod as Skinhead lunges at him. Howard swings the rod and smashes his knees. Yelping horribly, Skinhead topples to the ground. Pimples staggers to his feet and lurches toward Howard. Beverly sticks at her leg and trips him. He skids face forward toward Howard and starts to get up groggily. Howard grabs the trash can lid and smashes it down on Pimples' head. It sounds like cymbals clanging, and Pimples groans and falls limp. Howard then runs and jump kicks. His feet land in quack foo slam against Skinhead's chest. Skinhead falls next to Pimples and rolls over moaning. Howard jumps onto Skinhead's back, twists his arms behind him, and bends his fingers back painfully.
No, jeez. Oh, you're breaking my fingers.
Now you and Mr. Zitz are gonna beat it, right, Baldy? Before I get really mad.
Howard releases Skinhead's arms and climbs off his back. Skinhead scrambles over Pimples and starts to drag him away. Beverly stands up slowly. Howard sees that she's shaking from the attack. They stare at each other, as staring across the universe.
This is obviously no place for an intelligent, sensitive duck.
This is unreal. It can't be. I mean, you're not really a duck, are you?
You know, this is beginning to seriously undermine my self-esteem.
I'm sorry. I mean, I guess I should thank you for chasing those guys off. Are you okay?
Howard looks around.
Yeah, terrific. I just have one giant question. Where am I?
Well, the lights up there are 9th Street, bus stops at the corner of Powell.
No, I mean, what is this place?
Cleveland?
Cleveland? That's a perfect weird name for this planet.
Planet? No, that's the city. The planets. You don't know the planet? Well, the planet's Earth, I think. I'm obviously in some terrible nightmare.
Oh yeah? Your nightmare or mine?
So I guess I really better get going now. Anyway, thanks again, and bye.
She starts off down the street. She looks around and sees Howard standing alone in the alley. Thunder rolls ominously, and Howard raises his collar as the first raindrops fall.
You got someplace to go.
Hey, if I had someplace to go, I certainly wouldn't be in Cleveland.
Exterior Cleveland night. Squalls of rain fall over the city. A tall and a short figure walk down the wet sidewalk and climb to the steps of an industrial building. Interior building hallway night. Beverly comes in dripping, with Howard waddling behind her. She closes the door and Howard walks with her down the slummy hall. Interior Beverly's loft. The door opens and a tall and short silhouette enter. Beverly turns on the lights. Howard looks around while she straightens up the chaotic loft and rambles on nervously.
Sort of a disaster area. We're working on some new songs, and I've got this group called Cherry Bomb, and we've been playing these grungy mug holes, waiting for our big break. You don't have any idea what I'm talking about, do you, Mr. Duck?
It's Howard.
Right, Howard. Hi, I'm Beverly. Listen, you want something to eat? drink, milk. I could put it in a bowl.
Oh, I don't drink out of bowls. You got a beer?
Beer. Beer. Right. Sure.
She steps into the kitchen area and opens the refrigerator.
I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. I've just never been around. I mean, I've just never even had any pets or anything.
Beverly comes back and hands him a beer cautiously. And did you freeze?
I think she's
No.
gone.
I think
I
she's
thought I
frozen.
froze at first. Yeah.
Oh no.
We're trapped. We're trapped in Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Clevelandus.
Travis, not now.
She asked if the host could pause. She's out again. She got kicked out.
Who's the host? On Quack is the host. Oh no.
Dear God, Travis,
Well.
hit pause.
I'll hit pause. Absolutely.
Always seem like such a hassle feeding them, cleaning up their little poo-poos.
Howard is slowly burning.
I'll try to be careful.
Hey, nothing personal. I didn't mean that you'd. Oh, the rugs are old anyway. Why don't you just sit down and make yourself comfortable?
Howard takes the beer, steps on a pile of books, and climbs into a ratty easy chair littered with rock magazine and music scores.
Make myself at home, I wish.
He sips the beer, and suddenly the chair starts vibrating.
Oh no.
He jumps up in the chair, which topples over backwards and sends him rolling into a corner. Beverly's scared and backs up against the bookcase. The camera dollies into a close-up of Howard's face as he slips into a psychotic flashback. Flashback to Howard's apartment, night. Black and white, silent. Back on Duckworld, Howard screams silently as a chair crashes backwards and through the wall of the apartment. End flashback. Interior, Beverly's loft, night. Howard huddles terrified in the corner.
Howard, it's okay. You're all right.
The chair started shaking.
It was just a big truck going by.
Howard wipes the sweat from his face, pulls himself together, and moves out of the corner.
Oh, listen, you have to understand. 1 minute I'm just sitting, relaxing in my living room. The next minute I'm tossed across the universe.
Howard walks over to the window. Through the rain-spattered glass, he sees the blurry lights of Cleveland.
My whole world gone. What in the hell am I doing here? I mean, talk about an identity crisis.
Despite being in the weirdest situation she's ever been in, Beverly's doing her best to try to remain rational.
Yeah, what an awful thing to happen. So anyway, what do you do back at home? You got a job? Go to school?
Well, I went to med school for a while.
You went to med school?
Yeah, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, a plastic surgeon making big bucks doing beak jobs and tail tucks.
What happened?
I dropped out. I decided to educate myself in the real world, on the streets. So I wrote poetry at night and did construction work by day.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, but it was a pipe dream. I got so tired of everybody saying, grow up, Howard. I guess I finally did. Last month, I got what they call a promising job.
Doing what?
Advertising copywriter. Only 2 things touch my feathers, oil of night fowl and him. I wrote that.
Gee, Howard, it sort of sounds like you sold out.
Maybe. But sometimes I still get this feeling that there's some kind of special destiny waiting for me.
Howard, maybe that's why you're here.
He looks at her.
I mean, they say there's no accidents in the universe. Maybe you're here for some greater purpose, some cosmic cause.
Are you nuts? I got no intention of being stranded here. I got to get back.
He looks up at the stars skeptically.
Right. But what do? We've got to get some kind of help someplace.
Beverly notices that Howard's eyes are closing. His feathered head tips forward gently against the rain-streaked window. Beverly approaches him cautiously. He's asleep. She heaves a sigh of relief, but doesn't know what to do next. She watches Howard sleeping on the window seat. He's slumped in an uncomfortable position, and she slowly moves toward him. Her fingers touch him, and he retreats. Her fingers touch some of him again, very gently. She feels feathers, soft feathers. Beverly slips her hand under his little back and carefully lifts him up. Holding him against her like a child, she walks over to the sofa. With her foot, she kicks some junk off the sofa. Then she lays Howard down gently, moves a pillow under his head, and covers him with a blanket. Howard rolls over and starts to snore softly. His wallet falls onto the floor, and Beverly reaches down and picks it up. She opens up the miniature wallet. Close up, she pulls out a tiny credit card, a driver's license with Howard's picture on it, and a small dollar bill that looks very familiar, except with an engraving of a presidential duck in a white 18th century wig. Close up, she finds a picture of Howard with two elderly ducks who must be his parents, and another picture, Howard at the beach with two sexy little duck bimbos wearing bikinis. Beverly closes the little wallet and slips it carefully back into Howard's pocket. She pulls the blanket up a little bit and smiles affectionately. Then she moves away quietly. Kitchen area. Beverly walks into the kitchen area. She looks back at Howard sleeping and thinks for a moment. She slides a phone book across the counter and opens it to the yellow pages.
Jeez, what do you look under? The pound, immigration, hotels, pet finders. Wait, vets. That's it. Who told me they had a great vet?
Suddenly the phone rings and Beverly jumps a mile. She picks it up quickly, not wanting to wake her visitor.
Hello?
Intercut, Beverly's loft, Ronette's apartment. Casey and Caldonia are waiting with Ronette in her apartment.
Hi, listen, we decided what we need is a big lawyer. Somebody who can get us out of that damn contract with Ginger.
Yeah, and how are we gonna pay this lawyer? Anyway, listen, Ronette, something really intense has happened tonight.
Why are you talking so low? You got somebody over there? Another one of your pitfall dates? Mm-hmm.
You mean pitiful? No, don't ask. Wait a second. Speaking of pitiful dates, remember that guy you went out with last summer? The big brain? What was his name?
Oh, you mean young Dr. Jekyll? God. His name was Phil Blumbert. A date that will go down in infamy.
But wasn't he a scientist? Like, didn't he work with animals? But paleontology, that's right, dead animals. Well, maybe he'll see Howard as a challenge.
Howard sleeps, as if he's imagining humans in a nightmare. We dissolve to exterior a Cleveland Street morning. Humans, hundreds of them. Crowds of anonymous faces moving along the sidewalks to work. Interior, a cab. The cab swerves through commuter traffic. In the back seat, Beverly sits next to a large trash bag with little holes poked in it. A muffled voice is heard.
This is humiliating.
Just don't want people freaking out all over the place.
Well, what about me? I'm going to have to see a psychiatrist every day for the rest of my life.
Relax, we're almost there. This guy Phil's a scientist. He should be able to help us.
Exterior Museum of Natural History, day. The cab stops in front of the Beaux Art Style Museum. Beverly gets out and hauls the duck-loaded trash bag. Cut to Interior Research Hallway, day. Beverly drags the trash bag down the hall and knocks on a door. Phil Blumbert opens it. He's 24, a budding scientist, scientific genius in his own estimation. He eyes the bag quizzically as Beverly drags it through the door. The camera moves in toward the closing door. After a moment, the door bursts open and Phil rushes out, looking stunned. Interior Museum Workroom. A dozen paleontologists assembling a skeleton look up as Phil bursts into the room like a classic scientist announcing a discovery.
My God, listen, everybody! This is it. I've just seen it. It's in there. It's nothing. Never mind.
He backs out and closes the door gently. The puzzled scientists resume their work. Interior research hallway. Across the hall, Phil hangs a sign on the door, closed for testing. He slams the door. Interior testing laboratory. Phil walks away from the door, cogitating.
Why should I tell them? Why the museum should take credit for it? After all, it's my discovery.
Phil returns to Howard, who stands on an examination table next to Beverly and the empty trash bag.
This is amazing. Man's oldest fantasy. Across the sea of stars. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird. It's a duck.
Phil, calm down a second. You've got to help us. What do we do?
Smiling strangely, Phil approaches Howard.
Nice, Nike. Me, Bill. You, Howard. We be friends.
Undoubtedly one of Earth's greatest minds here.
Phil, don't talk to him like that. He's just as smart as you are.
Now I'm really depressed.
Right, highly intelligent. Perhaps even. Wait, that's it. Our first test.
Phil grabs some things and returns to the table.
We're about to see if Howard has any abilities we don't have here on Earth. Any, shall we say, superpowers?
Phil looks meaningfully at Beverly. This could be an incredibly dramatic moment. Phil drops a heavy iron rod on the table.
Howard, can you bend that?
Howard looks at the iron rod. He looks at Phil.
What are you, crazy?
Phil holds up a piece of wood.
Can you see through this, Howard?
Yes, I can, Phil. I see your head behind you.
Howard, cooperate.
Can you burn a hole in this with any kind of X-ray vision?
Can I bite your nose off with my super bill?
Can you concentrate and read my mind?
Howard holds his own forehead like a clairvoyant.
Yes, you are thinking, they know I'm a phony. They know I'm a yo-yo. Tell me if I'm warm on any of this, Phil.
Howard, can you see into the future?
Yes, I see myself walking out that door.
Interior paleontology wing day. Giant dinosaur skeletons loom overhead as Phil skips.
Okay, I found this on the web for Interior Paleontology Wing Day. Giant dinosaur skeletons loom overhead. Check it out.
I don't
Problem.
know. Sorry. I don't know how that happened. Sorry, where was I?
A giant dinosaur skeletons loom.
Okay. Giant dinosaur skeletons loom overhead as Phil skips after Beverly and Howard, praying that they won't run into museum guards or tourists.
No, wait. You can't leave.
Oh yeah, why not?
Because you're my ticket into the Science Hall of Fame. Look out, Darwin. Look out, Einstein. Hello, Nobel Prize.
We're not here to make you famous.
Beverly, I never badmouth others in the scientific fraternity, but you bring an alien in a bag to the most guys and whammo. They're talking CAT scan, biopsy, dissection, post-mortem.
Hey, I want to know what I'm doing here and how I'm going to get back.
Piece of cake. I'm just the guy to help. First, hey, I mean, I've already got a theory.
What theory?
Phil quickly pushes Beverly and Howard into an exhibit area past a barrier reading closed. Interior prehistoric habitats. They follow Phil into a darkened and deserted gallery displaying panoramas of stuffed animals and prehistoric landscapes. Phil stops and points up at a mural painting showing the various stages of the ascent of man, from tiny monkey through ape and prehistoric man to modern Homo sapiens.
That is, of course, the evolutionary ladder showing how man progressed from monkey to me, for instance.
You consider that progress? Jeez, you descended from monkeys. You're all hairless apes? That's really disgusting.
Now I want you both to imagine what will soon be called Blumbert's theory of the ascent of duck.
They look back at the mural painting, and as the camera moves in, we dissolve to a different mural. This one shows the evolutionary line starting with a small duck walking out of a lake.
Somewhere in the universe is Howard's world, a world almost exactly like ours, except that the progenitor of the dominant species was not a monkey, but a duck.
That's more like it.
And as Duck climbed up the evolutionary ladder, he dropped his wings, developed arms, grew taller.
The mural shows early duck growing larger, standing upright, wings receding.
Some theory. Every school duck knows this stuff.
His mental capacity increased. He began to form tribes, and now
Phil turns them toward a large glass case showing a prehistoric African savanna. Beverly and Howard peer at it.
now you can imagine Cro-Magnon duck, early cave duck, able to fashion crude tools and weapons.
Special effect, a group of prehistoric cave ducks dissolve into the empty landscape. They wear furs, carry clubs, and chant as they dance around a campfire. One of the cave ducks picks up a bone and tosses it into the air, as in the famous 2001 bone toss.
Thinking, reasoning fowl who ultimately evolved into Anidae sapiens, today's modern duck.
The slow motion bone spins heavenward and dissolves not into a rocket ship, but into Howard the Duck screaming as he plummets through space.
Hey, Blumbert, what in the hell are you doing?
End special effect. Phil shoves Beverly and Howard behind a caveman exhibit.
Don't move, don't breathe.
Phil peers down the hall as Dr. Chapin, a shadowy figure in the distance.
Did you finish cleaning the specimen lab?
Almost finished.
Well, get down to the marine life exhibit with the mop. Some kid upchucked all over the fern fossils.
All right. Good is done, Dr. Chapin.
Beverly and Howard glare at Phil.
So, Philzy, you're a scientist or a janitor?
Lab assistant. Lab assistant.
Terrific.
It's only a temporary job until I finish school and get my own museum.
Thanks for nothing.
Howard and Beverly walk away angrily. Dr. Chapin shouts again.
Blumbert, damn it. I said get a mop down here.
On my way, Dr. Chapin. Just 1 millisecond. Wait, Howard, don't waddle off in a huff. Beverly, listen, I've got some important matters to clean up here, and I'll call you tonight. I'll figure out how to help Howard, but just don't show him to anybody else. Like, take him to a movie, hide him.
Interior the elevator. The elevator doors open into the main floor. A woman screams when she sees Howard exiting with Beverly.
Typical, typical.
Howard stalks out of the elevator and Beverly follows him.
Howard.
Interior museum main lobby. Beverly follows Howard. They both ignore the interrupted conversations and astonished stares, the pointed fingers.
I didn't know who else to go to for help. Why are you so pissed off?
Howard hops onto the bench, scattering seated tourists, jumps up onto the ledge of a spraying Italian fountain, and faces Beverly on a more equal level.
Listen, if you got blasted millions of miles through space, ended up on another planet, and were given an IQ test by a janitor, you'd be a little pissed off too.
You're not going to make me feel guilty. I've got problems too, you know. I mean, my whole career's falling apart.
Your career? What about my life? I'm stranded here, shipwrecked.
A teacher guides a group of school children up toward Howard.
Look at this wonderful exhibit.
See? I'm a freak, an outcast.
It's so lifelike and so realistic.
Bug off.
Excuse me?
I said beat it.
Oh,
The offended teacher backs away with her kids. Howard turns on Beverly.
You too. Leave me alone.
What? I've only been trying to help.
I don't need any more of your sympathy or your charity.
Okay, fine. I mean, well, You must have been hatched from a very hard-boiled egg, Howard. But if this is the way you want it, so long, ducky.
She wipes an angry tear away and starts off.
Hey, don't shed any tears over me, sweetheart.
Don't worry, you can wallow in your own self-pity.
Howard watches her walk away and then yells after her.
Right, who needs you? I don't need anybody. Which is lucky since I don't have anybody.
Howard looks around at some people staring at him. He raises his hands like a monster and growls.
Ah!
They run away in terror. Howard kicks the water in the fountain.
Damn it. I can't sit around on my tail feathers feeling sorry for myself. I gotta think of practical matters, food, shelter, a job.
He sees 3 fearful tourists shrinking back against a wall.
Hey, what does a duck do to make a buck around here?
The tourists edge away and run off. Cut to exterior unemployment office day. People drift in and out of the downtown office. A sign indicates employment opportunities. Interior unemployment office. The jobless sit leafing through classified ads while the wheels of bureaucracy slowly grind them down. The A through H window. From the clerk's point of view, we can't see the first person in line from behind the counter. He's too short. But we can see the shocked looks of disbelief from the people in line behind him.
You fill out form. Ooh. Am I clerk? You fill out forms 1028 and 29.
A small hand comes up into view and passes the clerk the forms.
When did you last work?
We don't see Howard, but we hear him reply.
Does that include on my own planet?
There's a pause. Then the clerk leans over to the second clerk seated next to him.
I win this week. I ask, when did you last work? Guy answers, does that include my own planet?
Better send him to Cromayan.
Interior, another office later. Cora May, an intense black woman, glares down at Howard.
Now you do know why you've been sent to me.
Howard sits on a chair in front of her desk. He's wearing a used sports jacket over a ratty t-shirt and wrinkled slacks.
My continuing streak of bad luck?
You've been sent to me because I am famous for finding jobs for little slackers like you. That's right. They send me all the psycho cases, all the misfits.
She approaches his chair and starts poking Howard in the chest with her big finger.
All the phonies and fakers who think that by trapezing in here looking outlandish, they're not going to be able to find work.
It's my fault I have to shop in the little tyke section of Goodwill.
I'm not talking about your clothes. I'm talking about your face. You think by looking controversial, you're never going to find a job and just go on collecting unemployment and living happy on the public dole. Well, you got another thing coming because May always places her interviewee.
She pushes her face toward him and smiles evilly. Howard starts growling, showing his teeth.
You don't scare me. I'm going to find you a job that'll wipe that snarl right off your face, little whatever you is.
She straightens up thoughtfully.
In fact, I think I got just the position for you.
She turns and leans over her desk, placing her large posterior near his face. Howard smiles and opens his bill, getting ready to bite her butt. Howard lunges. She turns suddenly and he bites down hard on a slip of paper that she hands him.
I got a feeling you're gonna take to this job like a duck to water.
Howard sits with the slip of paper dangling from his bill. Cut to interior, a health spa afternoon. Following Howard down a steamy hallway, we read the words hot tub fever on the back of his terry cloth bathrobe. Howard waddles past cubicles, tossing in towels to amorous couples making out in bubbling hot tubs. Couples so lust crazed and preoccupied they don't notice Howard. As Howard passes the desk, a fat owner squints down at him through his large steam-fogged glasses that obscure his vision.
Creepy little dude. Hey, Shorty.
Howard turns slowly, looking sullen.
It's Howard, thank you.
The owner approaches him, grinning humorlessly.
Pardon me, your lowness, but we got plugged up air jet in number 11.
And
He grabs Howard and lifts him into the air.
And since you're supposed to be the water expert, I asked for you are gonna fix it.
Interior cubicle 11. The owner appears in the steamy doorway and flings Howard through the air.
Oops, guess I slipped.
no, wait, I can't swim.
There's a squawk and a large splash as Howard lands in an occupied hot tub. Underwater shot. Howard sinks past 4 entwined human legs to the bottom. He reaches desperately for the air valve. When he pulls out a wash rag, the air jet suddenly erupts, shooting bubbles into his startled face. The surface. Howard breaks the surface of the water, choking, gasping for air. Half drowned, he glances over at the two oblivious humans, kissing and sucking each other's tongues.
Don't mind me.
They don't, and continue to make passionate love.
At least where I come from, we're smart enough to get out of the water to do it.
Cut to interior lava of love mud bath later. The fat owner peers down at the bubbling mud bath and fishes out an old mud-caked bra. Howard appears ominously out of the swirling steam. He smiles evilly. Howard runs, then he skids, his duck feet making perfect little skateboards on the slippery wet tiles. Howard skids like an Olympic skidder, lifting a webbed foot and kicks the owner into the mud bath.
Sorry, I guess I slipped. Just came by to tell you I quit.
Cut to exterior, a street, night. Distant sirens, laughter, city noises. Silhouetted against a second-story window, a man plays a sorrowful saxophone. Looking forlorn, carrying a small, beat-up overnight bag, Howard walks alone down the dark street. A bus passes and shocked night commuters stare down at him. Howard walks past a discount store. A couple of bums stare at the dozen televisions playing in the window.
Bob, it's good news for Ohio hunters. Well, it's bad news for local ducks.
Hearing the newscast, Howard stops. He watches stunned with the bums, and the television reporter interviews a hunter holding a double-barrel shotgun.
This season, the Wildlife Commission has actually doubled the limit of ducks that can be legally shot. Reaction of local hunters was quick and enthusiastic.
As Howard watches in terror, one of the bums elbows the other, and they stare astonished at Howard.
Truth is, Jack, that Ohio is in a big danger of being overrun by ducks, but if every hunter can blast 15 of these featherhead invaders out of our skies.
Howard suddenly hears a gunshot. He whirls in panic and flattens against a store window. It's only the hot rod that backfires a second time as it cruises past. Howard edges away fearfully and starts running. Exterior, an alley, night. Howard runs into an alley and slows down. He looks around fearfully. No one is following him. He's alone. In a big way. He notices something else. This is the same alley his nightmare started in. He starts walking and sees the old chair he crash landed on. Then he hears music and singing. Beverly's sweet voice echoes around him. Interior, the rock club, night. Cherry Bomb plays and Beverly sings a scorching ballad. The crowd claps along indifferently. Drunks hoot. Interior, side entrance. Howard enters and sees Beverly. He watches her wistfully as she sings. Looking melancholy, he walks along the bar. He hears boozy laughter. He looks up at the backs of Ginger Moss, the girls' manager, and Richie, his driver, sitting at the bar with the nightclub owner.
Here's the money for the girls.
Howard sees Ginger's dangling gold earring flash as he slips the cash into his pocket.
Sure, I'll see they get it.
Yeah, I'll bet when.
The three men laugh, still unaware that Howard is standing behind and below them, listening angrily.
When bodacious Beverly stops holding out on me, I invited her up to my place tonight for a little career manipulation.
The three men laugh can't say the word. Then Ginger feels somebody tapping on his shoulder. He turns and sees Howard standing on the stool next to him.
I don't like the way you're talking about Beverly, and I want the girl's money.
Ginger stares at Howard and then turns slowly to Richie.
What is that?
Ginger, I warned you when you got into rock management. You're going to be dealing with the entertainment types, different strokes and all that.
Richie, different lifestyles is one thing. Different life forms is another.
Howard taps Ginger hard on the arm, spilling Ginger's whiskey all over his silk pants.
I'm not in a real good mood tonight, Ginger. I want the girl's money. Now, is this going to be easy or is this going to be trouble?
Richie, tell it to go away. I'm not up on all my barnyard languages.
Richie gets up, walks around Ginger, and suddenly grabs Howard.
Out! Fly away, your history wise quacker!
Richie slings Howard down the bar. Howard slides along the wooden bar, spilling drinks, falls off, and at the end disappears. On stage, Beverly and the girls see the commotion at the bar. They keep singing as if it's a boring, common occurrence. Back at the bar, Ginger, Richie, and the owner laugh. They don't see Howard pulling himself back up onto the bar. Howard starts walking along the bar, looking like Gary Cooper at high noon. As he approaches the three men, Howard rips a wet bar towel off the bartender's shoulder and slashes it across Richie's face. He follows it with a quack-fu kick to Richie's head. Howard then grabs a bottle and smashes it over the owner's skull. The owner sinks to the floor. Women scream. People shout and back away. Ginger grabs Howard by his jacket and yanks him down hard onto the bar. Howard sees Ginger reaching for something. Ginger's hand grabs an ice pick. Ginger swings. Howard rolls and the ice pick barely misses his head and jabs viciously into the bar. Howard grabs the ice pick. He shoves Ginger away and lunges. Ginger falls with his back on the bar. Howard swings the ice pick and we hear a thud. Bystanders look horrified as Ginger screams. Ginger's face freezes in contorted agony. He rolls his head. We see that the ice pick has pierced the center of Ginger's dangling gold earring, and it sticks into the wooden bar top, inflicting no damage, but hooking Ginger to the bar. From the stage, all Beverly can see is the crowd of spectators around the bar. She doesn't know Howard's involved. Kneeling atop the bar, Howard reaches over and casually lifts a second ice pick. Pinned to the bar, Ginger looks up at him.
No earring in your other ear? I'll just make the hole myself.
Ginger eyes the ice pick's sharp point.
No, please.
The money.
Sure, take the money.
And you're no longer their manager. You're going to let the girls out of that contract, Ginger.
Forget the contract. Listen, everybody, you're witnesses. I'm letting the girls out of the contract.
As he fishes the money out of Ginger's pocket, Howard sees Ginger wave surreptitiously for help from his friends moving in.
Tell your pals to stay back. I'm warning you. I bite your face, you're a dead man, Ginger.
What are you talking about?
Space rabies.
Ginger yelped.
Ginger yelps and he pulls away, his earring still pinned by the ice pick.
Space rabies? Stay back, everybody. Geez, is that a real disease?
I don't know. I remember something on the news.
Howard jumps off the bar with a crash.
That's right, space rabies. One bite and it's agonizing death in 15 minutes.
As Howard walks away from the bar, the anxious crowd scoots back out of his path. Cut to interior dressing room hallway. There's a knock on the door. Caldonia opens it and looks out into the hallway. Nobody. Then she looks down.
Is Beverly here?
Geez, you must be.
Interior of the dressing room. Casey jumps back in fear as Howard enters carrying his bag.
Casey, meet Howard.
Hi, Howie. We've heard so much about you. Of course, I didn't believe it.
Ronette steps in front of the adjoining dressing room and stares.
Yo, how weird.
Yeah.
Beverly's putting away equipment in the back. She comes out now and looks surprised to see Howard. She smiles tenderly.
Hey, Ducky.
Hi, doll.
Phil Blumbert suddenly shoves past Ronette and enters the other room.
Howard, thank God you're back. I was afraid we lost you forever. I've been investigating how you might have gotten here and how I found out that.
Ronette shoves Phil back into the other room.
Give him some privacy, Phils.
Howard walks up to Beverly. She sits down on an amplifier and smooths his ruffled head feathers.
How's the world been treating you?
Yes.
I was worried, Howard. I missed you.
Sex appeal. Some guys got it, some guys don't. Listen, I'm sorry I walked out on you, Bev. You're the only friend I got here.
You need a place to stay tonight.
Phil barges in again from the other room.
Howard, I've been working on the mystery of your arrival. I talked to some astrophysicists. You know, the ones who discovered that Aztecs came from Mars?
Howard looks at Beverly.
What's he doing here?
He and Ronnie have sort of gotten back together.
I don't know who is more desperate for dates, you or me.
Anyway, these guys concluded that you didn't land on Earth. You were always here.
What do you mean already here?
You arrived in spacecraft millions of years ago and remained a mummy frozen in ice until the river pollution must have thawed you out and...
Go away. Leave me alone.
Hey, I didn't buy the theory either, so I did more research and discovered an ancient race of large ducks who were worshipped by the primitive Samoans.
Howard throws a pillow at him and Phil dodges it.
Right. I was barking up the wrong tree. But Howard, today I got a real lead. And tonight I'm supposed to be given concrete evidence about how you got here. Wait a minute, what time? I'll be right back. Gotta make a call.
Interior stairway night. Howard and the girls come down the steps from the dressing room.
Hey, by the way, are we getting paid tonight? Where is that slime Ginger?
I think he was part of that commotion at the bar.
What was all of that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That was me. I had a little talk with Ginger.
You talked to Ginger? What for?
I got your money from him.
They arrive at the bottom of the stairs. Howard reaches into his pocket and hands the money to Beverly. The girls are speechless.
Ducky, I can't believe this.
I also got him to agree that it was time for him to step aside as manager.
What? You got rid of Ginger?
Howard shrugs modestly.
Mr. Duck, I don't know where you're from, but you're wonderful.
She kisses the top of Howard's head. Ronette tries to kiss him too, but Howard waves her away irritably, and they all laugh. Then they hear Phil hurrying down the hall, steps behind them.
This is it, Howard. I'm leaving now.
Good.
I'm going to meet secretly with my colleague, and he's bringing the feather.
What feather? What are you...
Howard, if it matches, it'll be the answer to all your...
Matches? No, you don't. Stay away from me.
Phil lunges at Howard and plucks a feather from his tail section. Howard yelps and starts to attack, but the girls restrain him.
Come back here, you hairless ape.
Phil opens the door onto the alley and stops.
I'm about to unravel the mystery of your arrival. You'll have time to thank me later.
Phil ducks a Coke bottle that smashes against the wall, and he runs off into the night. Cut to exterior of the apartment building night. Stars twinkle above the seedier sections of town. We hear a piano playing and the camera moves in toward a lighted window of Beverly's loft. Interior Beverly's loft night. Howard sits in his pajamas, kids' pajamas, little ducks on them, playing the piano. He calls to Beverly.
You know, I really hate these pajamas.
In your size, there's not a lot of choice.
Beverly comes out of the bathroom wearing only a t-shirt that says Foxy Lady on it. She watches amazed as Howard attacks the piano, playing a hot and brilliant passage.
Where did you learn to play like that?
I had a group in high school, Howard and the Heartbreakers.
Heavy, Howard. Very heavy. Maybe you should be our manager. Seriously, you might be just the kind of off-the-wall influence we need.
Off the wall? I'm more off than that. I'm totally off. My whole life's off. I've got problems of my own, sweetheart, so don't make any plans for me.
Beverly walks over and turns down the bed.
I think you'd be a great manager. I'm going to suggest it to the girls.
Forget it. No more jobs here. It's no use trying to assimilate. I got to get back to my own kind. How is another question.
He sees Beverly bending over to pull the spread down. Admiring her fanny, Howard wolf whistles.
You really are the worst. Come on, Ducky. We'll watch David Letterman.
Howard sees her pat the bed invitingly. He smiles faintly, fluffs his head feathers, and winks at himself in a mirror. Beverly climbs into the bed, and Howard comes over and walks to the other side.
You know, my life's really changed since you fell into it, Ducky.
Yeah, well, I'm glad somebody's happy.
And if I can get my career back on course, I'll only have the old standard worry left.
Howard climbs into bed next to her.
What's that?
I can't seem to find the right man.
Howard raises up on his arm and smiles at her.
Maybe it's not a man you should be looking for.
Howard gives her a sexy look. Beverly plays along and smiles back coyly.
You think I might find happiness in the animal kingdom, Ducky?
Well, like they say, doll, love's strange. We could give it a try.
Beverly decides to put him on and answers huskily.
Okay, let's go for it, Mr. Macho.
What do you mean, okay? Go for what?
She moves her pillow next to his and snuggles up closer. Howard didn't expect this.
Listen, I'm pretty tired.
She walks her fingers up his stomach. He forces a yawn. She's enjoying putting him on. Howard's getting worried.
You're just so incredibly soft and cuddly.
Bev, let's be realistic. I mean, my apartment's zillions of miles from here. You're 3 feet taller than I am, and
Beverly unbuttons the top button of his pajamas and continues in a sexy voice.
I just can't resist your intense animal magnetism.
She pets his chest. Suddenly, his head feathers stick up and he pats them down embarrassingly.
But where'll it lead? Marriage? Kids? A house in the suburbs?
She unbuttons more buttons and he buttons them up again.
Let's face it, it's fate.
No, it's not. I should have told you before. There's this cute little mallard back home. Her name's Wendy, and we're sort of engaged.
She moves over until she's almost on top of him. Howard pulls the blankets up around his neck protectively.
I can't. I've got a headache.
And I've got aspirin.
She moves to kiss him, and it looks like the big moment. Beverly suddenly bursts into laughter.
You Howard?
Oh, me? I knew you were kidding all along.
You were scared to death.
Well, a little worried.
Laughing, he reaches over and turns off the light.
Anyway, good night, sweet Ducky.
She leans over and kisses him. Suddenly the lights come on. Phil enters on a around a screen separating the sleeping area from the rest of the loft. With him is a young scientist named Carter. They both stare wide-eyed at Beverly, who breaks off her goodnight kiss with Howard as he sits up quickly.
My God, this relationship defies all the laws of nature.
No, it doesn't. This is not what you think. We're just very good friends.
Listen, I'm sorry, but the front door was open and
Who the hell is he?
this is Carter. He works in spectroscopic emission control.
Ah, geez, another nut. Get him out of here.
Howard, please, I'm serious this time. Show him.
Beverly and Howard both watch as Carter comes forward slowly and opens a plastic case. Out of it, he removes a single feather. Phil steps forward and holds up the other feather he plucked out of Howard earlier this evening.
I tested them. They're both from the same fowl. You, Howard.
Fuming, Howard starts walking up the bed toward them. Beverly restrains him by holding the back of his pajamas.
On my planet, we never say die, we say kill.
Please, you've got to listen to me. I know how you got here.
Howard looks at him seriously. Cut to interior Beverly's apartment later night. The snowy television screen throws eerie shadows. Beverly huddles on the couch with a blanket around her. Phil sits nervously in a chair. Howard leans against the couch, looking skeptical. Carter slips a videotape into a portable machine he brought.
When I first told Carter about you, he assumed I was on drugs.
Phil laughs at the notion. Howard and Beverly don't.
But the dates were too coincidental. I thought, what if this alien fowl arrives on Earth because of our experiment?
What experiment?
I work at Aerodyne. It's an astrophysics laboratory. We do research, defense work, super secret stuff. Anyway, on the night of September 8th.
Isn't that the night Howard landed?
Yes. And that night we were working late at the lab with Dr. Jennings, our research supervisor, using the laser spectroscope.
Carter pushes the play button and the videotape starts.
This was shot during the experiment.
On the videotape, they see a high-tech lab and the mammoth telescopic laser spectroscope jutting through a hole in the ceiling like a giant ray gun pointed at the starry universe.
It was a routine procedure. Dr. Jennings was attempting to measure the density of the gases that covered the star Alpha Centauri.
On the tape, bizarre lights flash over a dozen scientists wearing goggles. Dr. Walter Jennings, an intense and imposing man in his late 30s, stands at the control panel.
Part of the way through the experiment, Dr. Jennings lost control of the laser spectroscope.
A red warning light flashes and the scientists dash to various pieces of equipment. Howard walks up to the television slowly.
What do you mean, lost control?
The machine began to move, to re-aim itself, and Dr. Jennings couldn't stop it.
On the TV, the giant machine swivels at the base. Panning up to its tip, we see it moving against a starry sky.
It wasn't a malfunction. Some unknown force was redirecting the laser beam from its original target so that it hit your planet instead.
Hit my planet? How about hit my living room? Talk about an invasion of privacy.
Howard stares at the screen. The towering laser spectroscope starts vibrating. The whole lab seems to shake. The scientists look up fearfully.
When the beam hit, you must have been caught up in the massive energy inversion.
The laser spectroscope looks as if it's struck by lightning. The mammoth piece of machinery starts glowing and the lab flares into a blinding whiteout. Howard moves back from the television as it flares.
Which literally dragged you through space back down here to the power source on the Earth.
On the tape, the scientists lower their goggles in amazement as they see one feather slowly float down from the ceiling.
In the lab that night, we only saw a single feather fall.
On the screen, Howard sees Dr. Jennings bend over and pick up the feather. He studies it. Carter steps over and shuts off the tape. The screen returns to a blank snowstorm.
We weren't aware that the rest of you, Howard, had landed in the alley 2 miles away.
There's a moment of silence. Then Howard walks over and grabs his coat. He starts putting it on.
Where are you going?
That lab to have a little talk with good old Dr. Jennings.
Okay, I'll have to call ahead.
Carter goes to the phone and punches the number.
And after all talk, I'll just get back on board this laser thing, and all we have to do is hit the reverse lever, right?
Hit what?
The reverse lever, the rewind button. I'm talking about my round trip ticket. The thing that's gonna send me back home.
But we hadn't considered reversing the process.
Wait, what if you could generate a strong enough Gauss wave?
You're right. The reflex mode might provoke a total reversal. Oh, sorry, Dr. Jennings, it's Carter. I've just met something amazing.
Cut to exterior Cleveland Parkway night. The museum van roars along the nearly deserted highway. Interior, the van, night. Phil drives and talks excitedly with Carter.
What did Jennings say when you mentioned using the laser spectroscope for space travel?
He sounded intrigued.
Well, we could send Howard back. We'd be able to establish a continuing link between our two planets.
The bilateral flow of information would be amazing.
In the back of the van, seated on the floor among boxes of tools and other junk, Beverly watches sadly as Howard checks his little overnight bag.
Packed my
Hot tub fever bathrobe.
She nods and he flips through some of the snapshots of her.
And thanks for the pictures. The guys at home are never going to believe this.
I hope they let you take a carry-on bag.
Her voice breaks and Howard realizes how upset she is.
Bev, I don't belong here. If they can send me back, I've got to go.
She nods sadly and forces a smile as the streetlights flash over their faces.
I was just remembering when you first waddled into my life and I said some really dumb stuff about pets.
Forget it, doll.
Jeez, and now I'm remembering all the other stuff I said and didn't say.
Bev,
Well, you certainly didn't turn out to be a pet. And you're a lot more than just a friend.
Howard looks away a moment.
Bev, I'm not a real sentimental guy.
Tell me about it.
Howard reaches out and gently takes her 5 fingers in his 4.
But I have to admit that you're the only thing that's given me second thoughts about leaving.
Cut to exterior Aerodyne Laboratory night. The Aeronautics and Space Research Facility rises on a hill above the city. The van approaches the main gate. Interior the van. Phil slows toward the guardhouse.
You got your pass?
Carter gets his entry pass out, but when they stop, there's nobody in the guardhouse to check it.
You two can quit hiding. There's no guard for some reason.
Phil accelerates. Among the junk in the rear of the van, we see 2 shapes under a tarp. We hear Beverly giggling before her head pokes out from under the tarp.
Got it out. Your feathers tickle.
Howard's head comes out and he grins. Exterior, the plant, night. The van pulls up at the front of the plant. Carter and Phil get out and open the side doors for Beverly and Howard. Interior, the lobby, night. They all enter the lobby. A warning buzzer keeps sounding on and off. Carter looks puzzled as he leads them to the door beneath the flashing red light. Interior Aerodyne hallways. They come to the door and hallways, hazy with smoke.
Something's happened.
Beverly coughs and looks scared as they continue on. Another hall. The smoke is heavier and they hear more alarms ringing. They pass vacant offices with wall murals showing solar systems and nebula. At the end of the hall, Carter opens a box and punches in a code. An electric door opens. Down a short hall, there's another door marked security area. Passes required. They start down the short hall. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Beverly screams as a young technician staggers out, groaning horribly and clutching his face.
Ah! My eyes!
The man lurches and falls onto the floor. He raises up, grabs Howard, and pushes his smoke-blackened face into Howard's bill.
My God, it was terrible. We've no right to tamper with this universe.
My feelings exactly.
The young man collapses. Howard looks apprehensive.
This does not bode well.
Interior, the main lab. Carter pushes open a large door and Howard, Beverly, and Phil enter the main lab where they witness the chaotic scene. Security guards try to revive scientists overcome by smoke and others apparently in shock. 2 technicians spray a small fire with extinguishers. A secretary screams hysterically on the phone to the police. Other scientists wander dazedly through the broken glass and swirling smoke, which vents slowly through a mysterious, giant, jagged hole in the back wall of the lab. A choking scientist hurries over to Carter.
What happened?
Dr. Jennings was activating the laser spectroscope. We lost control again, and all of a sudden there was an explosion. Jenny caught the full force of the blast.
Where is he?
Somebody thought they saw him stagger out through the hole the explosion made, but he's disappeared.
I've got a terrible feeling this is going to delay my takeoff.
Larry finally notices Howard looking through the giant hole in the wall.
Is that it? My God, you were right, Carter. A creature from another world. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we brought Howard down the first time. God knows what we brought down this time.
They hear sirens in the distance. Cut to exterior Aerodyne night. Police cars and fire trucks swarm outside. Flashing lights illuminate the paramedics wheeling out dazed scientists. Interior Aerodyne halls. Lieutenant Weber, an overworked dyspeptic detective in his 50s, walks with a uniformed rookie named Hanson.
Getting all the scientists rounded up for you in the lab, sir. But you better see this other thing first.
Thing, Hanson. What kind of precise description techniques are they teaching rookies nowadays?
They turn a corner. Beverly steps away from the 2 cops and blocks Weber's path.
Oh, that's me. No, Doc.
Nope.
No.
I don't know why.
Couple lines up there.
Too far. Oh, wait. What? Oh, I want to know why they're harassing Howard.
Who the fuck is Howard?
He didn't have anything to do with this. Howard's just an innocent
Thing?
No. Doc.
Weber looks at Hanson.
And they wonder why I'm asking for early retirement.
Interior drafting room. As Lieutenant Weber enters, the pudgy uniformed cop jumps up from the swivel chair he's been lounging in.
Kirby, you got a thing in here?
Kirby nods slowly. Howard steps out from behind a desk and glares at Weber.
I want to see a lawyer. I've got rights, you know. I'm suing.
Weber stares in disbelief. Interior of the hallway. Outside, Beverly jumps when she hears Weber explode.
God damn it to hell, Hanson! Get that friggin' duck suit off this nut!
Oh no.
Interior of the drafting room. Back in the room, Weber confers with another detective, while off screen we hear the uniformed cops and Howard shouting.
Hold on to him!
Let me go. I'm a master of quack.
Get his clothes off!
On my plan, we never say die. We say, not my shorts.
Crossed clothing lands near Lieutenant Weber.
Find the damn zipper!
Let me go, perverts.
Try pulling his head off first.
Right, stop.
Oh, Lieutenant?
Weber looks over as the cops move aside. Howard stands in his underwear. His feathered chest shows above his shorts. His spindly legs show below.
Lieutenant, there is no zipper.
No buttons, no Velcro. I think the suspect's darkness is like inborn. I think he's for real.
Weber looks stunned as Howard starts getting dressed.
Ha! If your goons are finished, I want a word with those so-called scientists out there.
Yeah? What about?
When they can rev up that machine again to send me home.
Listen, I'm gonna go talk to the scientists. You're gonna play sitting duck in a jail cell.
Lieutenant, what charge?
Illegal alien.
Cut to interior hallway later night. 2 burly cops tramp along the hallway. Panning down, we see their ruthless captive walking between them. Howard the Duck, handcuffed and heading for jail. Interior, the main lab. Lieutenant Weber interrogates scientists in the background. Beverly stands by a glass door. She looks upset and worried as she watches Howard being escorted out. Then Beverly slips away. Interior front offices. The prisoner escort stops outside the main lobby.
I'll bring the car up.
The second cop goes off. The first cop finds a small pack of cigars and helps himself to one. Just as the side door opens and Beverly enters.
Hey, you can't come in here.
But the cop's distracted when Howard jumps into a chair and hops up under the counter beside him.
I think I could use one of those cigars myself.
Oh, you think so?
The amazed cop gives Howard a cigar.
Duck stick? No kidding. What do you think about?
The cop lights the cigar and Howard puffs on it.
Oh, you know, love, death, existence, the Super Bowl, all the really heavy stuff.
The cop remembers Beverly and pushes her toward the door.
Didn't beat it.
Howard uses the opportunity to toss a cigar into a trash barrel full of computer trimmings.
Ah, nuts, I dropped my cigar.
The cop lets go of Beverly and turns quickly.
Gee, that's all I need.
The cop runs back, bends quickly, and pokes around in the trash barrel, trying to find the cigar. Above him, Howard snarls and shows his teeth.
So long, copper. Yeah.
He leaps into the cop's back. The cop spills forward, head first into the wastebasket. Beverly reaches down and nervously pulls a revolver from the cop's holster.
Desperate ducks commit desperate acts. Give her the key to the cuffs, Flatfoot.
Interior, the main lab. Later, a cop rushes in and interrupts Lieutenant Weber's interrogation.
Lieutenant, the duck got away.
Weber looks furious. Phil looks puzzled and pleased. Exterior Aerodyne Lab. Night. Headlights and flashlights flare. Cops rush around in the darkness, searching for the fugitives. Exterior rear of plant. Shooting from a low angle, we see cops' legs running and stop. As the cops confer, the camera moves in towards some bushes. We see Howard and Beverly hiding in the shrubs, listening.
Suspect's about 2 feet, 10 inches.
Howard rises on his toes to make himself taller.
Armed.
Howard tosses the police revolver onto the ground.
And dangerous.
Howard smiles like an innocent angel. Who, me?
Shoot to kill.
Howard's smile fades. He gulps and Beverly pulls him back into the bushes. The cops run off in different directions. Exterior equipment dock. Howard and Beverly back into the shadowy loading area until they hear something and whirl around. Backlighted by floodlights, a figure stalks toward them.
No,
No,
don't shoot.
Don't shoot. We give up. Time
Time
out.
out. We
We
surrender.
surrender.
The figure shoves Howard and Beverly along some shipping crates. More cops go past without stopping. The man slips down into a sitting position, and Howard and Beverly see that it's Dr. Jennings. His face is stained with smoke, his clothes torn from the explosion.
Who? Wait a minute. You're Dr. Jennings.
Yes. My God, you must be the result of the first experiment. Oh,
Jennings clutches his head and groans.
Yeah, I seem to affect a lot of people that way.
no, it's not that. It's just burning up. It feels like my head's gonna burst.
What happens?
Oh, we were initiating functions on the laser spectroscope. It went out of control again. There was an explosion, and I staggered out here, and I just passed out.
Flashlights sweep over the area, and Howard and Beverly flatten themselves against a wall. When the cops move on, Jennings tries to think through the pain.
Are they after you?
Does shoot to kill sound serious?
I'm finished too. These experiments were unauthorized. The police are going to blame me for this pain.
You need help. Maybe we ought to get out of here.
You got a car, Doc?
Exterior parking area night. Howard, Beverly, and Jennings run down a row of parked cars. Jennings opens the door to his car, and Beverly and Howard climb in. Interior, the car. Jennings gets in and closes the door. Then he hesitates. He leans his head on the steering wheel and grimaces.
Wait, I'm beginning to remember now. Just before the explosion, I saw something coming down.
What was it?
Grotesque. Some horrible, monstrous shape.
Jennings groans and closes his eyes.
Oh,
Doc, I think you suffered a concussion or something.
no! I saw it. The laser brought you down the first time. This time, I'm afraid it's brought down some kind of monstrous evil.
So suddenly I'm looking good.
Can we speculate?
Speculate? Yes, sure.
Can we? God damn it, Travis! Can we speculate about this later? Can we start the car now?
Where will we go? And evil's here now, and there's no place to hide and speculate.
Well, what do you say we give it a shot? Start the car, Jennings.
Exterior driveway night. We hear an engine start. With its lights off, Jennings' car pulls out of the lot and cruises away slowly. Interior Jennings' car. Jennings looks feverish as he drives away from the lab toward the transport area behind the assembly plant. Howard stands on the seat between Jennings and Beverly.
Oh, the pain is spreading. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's the back gate.
Good. There's no cops.
I don't have a gate key.
You got a foot, don't you? Step on it.
Exterior the back gate night. Jennings' car picks up speed, roars down the hill, and crashes through the chain link gate, sending them flying through the air. Exterior Aerodyne Lab night. Police cars roar off. A cop runs up to where Lieutenant Weber confers with the squad sergeants.
A car crashed at the back gate heading toward Highway 5.
Get out an all points bulletin. How in the hell do I explain a manhunt for a duck?
Cut to exterior road night. Jennings' car races down the transition road and swings erratically onto the highway. Interior the car. Passing headlights flare over Jennings as he drives haphazardly.
Gotta listen. I'm telling you, I saw it.
Doc, you're in shock from the explosion. You're imagining things.
No! An evil has landed and the world is in great danger.
It certainly is when you're out on the highway.
Look out!
A car honks as Jennings swerves into the wrong lane. Howard reaches over, grabs the wheel, and pulls hard on it. Exterior the highway. Jennings' car swerves, barely missing a head-on collision with a giant truck and a trailer rig. Interior Jennings' car. Howard stands on the seat doing most of the steering as Jennings groans and holds his stomach.
You're gonna get us killed!
Feels like something inside me is gnawing at my guts. What is wrong with me?
What'd you have for lunch?
Jennings gasps in pain as closes his eyes.
Oh, come on, give us a break. Don't close your eyes.
I can't hold on much longer. The pain. It's like I'm transforming inside. I'm afraid I'm about to become something else.
You mean like a sex change or something?
Something's growing inside me. It's replicated and superseded all my internal organs.
We'll stop at a bathroom.
That monstrous shape I saw. My God, Howard, that evil is in me. It's in my body now.
You're delirious. You're not making any sense.
It's too late. The end of the world is coming. And I will cause it.
Jennings passes out. He slumps forward onto the wheel and the car swerves, heading across the white line into oncoming traffic. Howard squawks, steps around him, and grabs the wheel.
Ah, Jennings, wake up.
Get his foot off the gas. Step on the brake. Look out, Howard!
Howard yanks the wheel again. Exterior the highway night. Jennings' car hurtles toward a pickup truck, crossing in at an intersection, swerves behind it, hits a soft shoulder, and flies airborne. Interior the car. Howard squawks louder as the car crashes down the embankment, bounces over a side road, and heads toward a roadside cafe. Howard tries to steer. Jennings sits unconscious in the middle and Beverly sticks her foot out and tries to push on the brake.
The brake. Push, Beverly, push.
Exterior, the cave, night. The car slams into a fishtailing skid, spins around, and throws up a cloud of dust as it skids forward. Interior of the car. Howard steers during the skid while Beverly scrunches down and pushes even harder on the brake. Exterior, the cafe, night. The car slows to a stop, rolling over a sidewalk and up onto a planter. Its tires rotate one final turn and the front bumper taps a large plate glass window. The car stops. Interior of the car. Howard and Beverly still stare dazed as the plate glass window vibrates, but it doesn't break. Beverly slumps back onto the seat. Howard looks over at Jennings, who is smiling weirdly.
I'm dead.
You think that's funny, Jennings?
Jennings speaks now in a strange mechanical voice.
I'm not Jennings anymore. The transformation is complete. I am someone else now.
Yeah, tell that to your insurance company.
Come on, he needs some coffee.
Interior, Joe Roma's Cajun Sushi, night. Howard and Beverly enter with Jennings. A cranky hostess appears and looks down at Howard, then at Jennings.
I'm sorry, we don't allow pets on the premises.
Jennings just stares at her intensely. Howard takes his hand.
Seeing eye, duck.
As Howard leads Jennings away, the hostess looks at Beverly.
He's helpless without him touching, isn't it?
Jennings sits down in a booth. Beverly joins Howard, sitting across from Jennings.
Gotta find a waitress.
As Howard looks around, Beverly watches Jennings stare intensely at a glass of ice water.
You never seen water before?
Jennings opens his hand slowly. The glass actually slides across the table into his hand.
How'd you do that?
Beverly's more amazed as the water in the glass starts to bubble and boil.
Oh, geez, you must have a major fever. Howard, look, did you see?
Oh, here she comes.
Howard didn't see the mysterious water glass. A young waitress comes up now.
Oh, wow. Your kid's costume is really radical. He must be crazy about it.
Yeah, I'm very attached to it.
She notices Jennings is perspiring heavily and staring at her bizarrely.
Your dad's sort of into his own space. What do you think he'd like to eat?
I no longer need human food.
I know it's a drag, but you're gonna have to order some dinner if you want to sit here. How about the special?
You are about to witness the end of the old world and the birth of the new.
What is he? A TV evangelist or something?
Or something.
We'll have 3 specials.
She goes off and Howard looks at Jennings.
Listen, if you can tune back into reality for a second, I don't understand anything you're talking about. All I know is that I need that laser machine to get me home. Is it still working, Jennings?
I told you I'm not Jennings anymore. I am now one of the dark overlords of the universe.
Howard looks at Beverly.
One of the dark overlords of the universe?
That must be quite a responsibility.
Tonight, the laser beam hit the nexus of Somnius.
The Nexus, what's this?
Is that a planet?
It lies beyond the planets. It is a region of demons.
A region of demons?
Other dimensional plane to which we dark overlords were exiled some eons ago after losing the first cosmic war.
I hope you're getting all this.
Howard, what I'm getting is that this man is very, very sick.
Just as you were brought down accidentally. Tonight, the laser beam released me from the region of demons and pulled me down into that lab.
Small universe.
During the explosion, I entered Jennings' body. So I have disguised my true form, which would be considered hideous, and revolting here.
Lucky for the people eating.
Ah!
Waitress sets down the plates and Howard recoils into a corner of the booth, looking aghast at the meal.
You ordered 3 specials. What's wrong?
This will mean the extinction of all existing life forms.
Gee, you haven't even tasted it yet.
Howard looks down horrified at the huevos rancheros.
Well, what do you think? I'm into cannibalism or something?
Hey, are we like all in the same discussion here?
I'll give you a hint. What's white, ovoid, and always reminds me of my birthday? The eggs. Get them out of here.
The waitress picks up the eggs and goes off muttering.
I can't believe this planet. Fried eggs. Ugh.
Beverly sees Jennings glare at the ketchup bottle and mustard jar. She looks astonished as she sees a ray of light radiate from Jennings' eyes.
Howard?
Beverly nudges Howard. They both see the light ray hitting the mustard jar and ketchup bottle, which start to shake violently. Suddenly, there's 2 small explosions. Mustard and ketchup splash across the tabletop.
Jeez, what just happened?
How in the hell did you do that?
Look out, he's got something in his pocket.
Beverly cringes and Howard's eyes go wide with fear as Jennings reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a plastic code key circuit card, which he places on the table.
What's that?
It is the code key. It activates the laser spectroscope. I will use it when I aim the laser beam up into the nexus of Summonus again and bring down the other Dark Overlords.
The others?
Now he's got a whole gang. Well, screw him. I got dibs on that laser first. Give me that code key. That's my ticket home.
Howard snatches the code key out of Jennings' hand. Then Howard yells. Small rays are sparking from Jennings' fingers.
Whoa, look at his hand.
It's nothing. Look at his face.
Jennings' face is paler and his eyes darker. He speaks in a raspy, non-human voice.
Soon the Dark Overlords will engulf the world. Nothing human will remain here.
Yeah, well, nothing ducks remaining here either. Come on, Beverly, move. We're going.
You get the check?
Hate to eat and run.
Hi.
They slide out of the booth until their way is blocked.
Hey, look at the talking duck.
Howard looks up at 3 grinning truckers in oily baseball caps.
Get out of my way. Bug off.
2 truckers laugh while the other stares in awe.
Lord, what is it?
You
Travis.
jackass. It's a ventriloquist. This guy's doing the talking, and this here is the dummy. Go on, say something, dummy.
You might not want to hear what I say, bozo.
The 3rd trucker loses his smile, looks over at Jennings, and grabs him by the front of his jacket.
Did you make him say that, jerk off?
Leave him alone. He was just in an industrial accident.
Yeah, and who's your other friend? Some kind of farm school mutation. They're always trying to develop bigger chickens.
Get out of the way. Take a hike, cowboy.
The 2nd trucker grabs Howard and picks him up. He sees the code key and grabs it out of Howard's hand.
What's this? The kitty or duck mobile?
Give me that or you're going to be sorry.
You better watch out. He's a master of quack foo.
The trucker slips the code key into his shirt pocket and cocks his arm back to punch Howard out.
Yeah, well, I'm about to quack for you.
But Howard beats him to the punch, poking the trucker in the eyes with 2 fingers. The trucker hollers and Howard bites his nose. The trucker grabs his face, dropping Howard.
Come on, Bev, run.
But the 3rd trucker shoves Beverly back into the booth as the truckers start for Howard, who backs away.
I think we better squash this thing before it matures.
Howard squawks, skips up onto a stool and onto the counter. As the truckers chase him, Howard runs down the counter, stepping in irate customers' dinners along the way. Beverly gets out of the booth and tries to run toward Howard, but there's too many people blocking her path.
Howard!
Back on the counter, Howard grabs a pie and flings it in the trucker's face. Howard starts throwing more food, accidentally hitting customers who angrily join in, trying to catch him. Beverly runs back to the booth where the waitress is cleaning the table.
Please, call the police. They're gonna hurt him.
Jennings still sits motionless. He looks paler, his eyes darker. He speaks in a raspy voice.
An evil unlike any you can imagine is about to engulf the world.
Nah, we have fights in here all the time.
By the kitchen, Howard is spinning around on the order slip wheel above the cook's grill. Howard kicks a waiter in the face and then flies airborne. Beverly sees Howard shoot past the busboy's cart. As he rolls by Jennings' table, he shouts at him.
Jennings, I could use some help here, buddy.
Howard disappears and we hear a crash of dishes, but Jennings doesn't react to Howard's plight. A raised four-wheel drive pickup has pulled up outside the window. The pickup's headlights flare into Jennings' face, bothering him. He turns his head. Jennings' eyes glow. Suddenly, the pickup's headlights explode. Meanwhile, a trucker yanks Howard off the floor. He's assisted by a dozen irate customers who lift Howard above their heads like a lynch mob on the move.
We're gonna cook your goose.
Pluck him! Stuff him! Roast him!
Duck soup!
Howard sees a Chinese chef approaching with a giant meat cleaver.
Oh, great duck in heaven. Is this the end of Howard?
Howard's carried by the cord into the by the crowd into the kitchen. He grabs onto the doorway with his little hands.
Jennings, don't just sit there. This is serious. They're gonna cook me.
Truss him! Race him!
Rev up the microwave!
Beverly rushes back to the booth where Jennings sits motionless, an awful low growling noise growling inside of him.
I got kicked off, sorry. Listen, please help Howard. If you want to destroy the world, fine. But as Howard's not part of it, you've got to help him.
In the kitchen, they shove Howard into a chopping island, tie his legs together. The cook sharpens the meat cleaver.
Jennings, you're missing this. They're seasoning me. Wait, you better put me down. You don't want to get my friend angry.
Oh, yeah? Why?
Because he's one of the dark overlords of the universe. And he can destroy you, and this cafe, and Earth, everything.
There's a pause before they all start laughing.
Yeah, well, I didn't buy it at first either.
Howard struggles as the chef lowers the cleaver to his neck, takes aim, then raises it behind him to behead him.
Jennings! Oh, look, he's getting up. I warned you. Here he comes.
His assailants laugh when they see Jennings standing up slowly.
What happens? His quaaludes wear off?
By the booth, Beverly backs away, looking stunned.
Oh my God!
The camera moves in as Jennings turns slowly and reveals himself. Jennings has indeed become something else. A luminescent aura ignites around his body and hums electrically. His hair glows in an evil mockery of a halo. Jennings' eyes flare, revealing the volcanic fire inside his possessed body. An eerie silence descends over the roadside cafe. The cook freezes with the cleaver held aloft, and the group holding Howard in the kitchen looks over at the horrific sight.
Geez, it's like something out of a nightmare.
Well, that's a nightmare.
He must have eaten the chili.
Howard sees Jennings and does a double take.
Jeez, he is one of the dark overlords of the universe.
Jennings speaks like a mechanical Moses booming from Mount Sinai.
Release the small waterfowl. Bring me the code key, Howard.
Right, the code key. You heard him. Cut me loose.
But the second trucker grabs a meat cleaver from the Chinese chef and starts toward Jennings.
I've never heard such bull pookie.
In response, Jennings raises his hand and points at the trucker. The meat cleaver zings out of the trucker's hand and starts spinning in the air, flying in a deadly trajectory toward the heads of Howard's attackers. They duck, cower, hit the floor. Finally, the cleaver slams into the chopping block with a thud, cutting the cord around Howard's feet. He throws it off.
Sorry, but the menu's changed, guys.
Beverly moves away from Jennings. She hears him growl. Suddenly, the gas fires and the grill shoots up 10 feet toward the ceiling. People scream and run for cover. Jennings moves his arm, and a cyclone of dishes, napkins, glasses, and food erupts along the cafe counter. In the kitchen, Howard skips through the chaos of fleeing legs, the shower of kitchen utensils, and runs over to the second trucker who's sitting on the floor in a daze. Howard grabs the code key out of the trucker's shirt pocket.
I told you not to make him angry.
Outside the kitchen, the bartender comes around the bar with a baseball bat and starts toward Jennings.
Come on, let's get him.
Several customers join him. Suddenly, the soda hoses rise like cobras and start spraying them. Then the high TV starts flipping the channels, sparks, and explodes. Jennings' eyes flare, glasses shatter, booze bottles are launched and smashed into the bartender and the customers, flooring them in a tornado of glass and liquor. Lying on the floor under a table, a terrified mother tries to shelter her son, but the kid is wide-eyed with excitement as he watches Jennings wreak havoc.
Oh, wow! Masters of the universe! We've got to stop him, Voltron! Zap! Pow!
The kid lifts a tiny Voltron GoBot and pretends to zap Jennings. Nearby, one of the truckers rips the chain off the hostess's barricade and starts swinging it viciously as he charges Jennings. Jennings' eyes flare. The trucker is hit by a gale wind that sends him staggering backwards. He crashes against the wall. Howard runs out of the kitchen and over to Beverly.
I got the code key.
Let's get out of here.
The third trucker charges with the chair raised above his head. Jennings points at him. The trucker's blown backwards through a window and disappears into the night. Howard and Beverly are running toward the front doors. They suddenly slam shut. A half-dozen chairs and 3 planters slide mysteriously in front of the doors, blocking them.
You will not leave.
Hey, no, Beverly.
Beverly sees Howard skidding backwards across the floor toward Jennings. Now Howard actually rises into the air. Beverly runs after him. Beverly stops and looks up. Howard is floating 6 feet off the ground.
Howard, get down.
Like I'm doing this on purpose.
Beverly sees Jennings moving toward them through the now silent, destroyed cafe. Glowing eyes, flaring red, Jennings stops and points at Howard. Howard gulps.
Give me the code key.
Oh, yeah? And what if I don't? Little joke.
Jennings glares, Beverly screams, and Howard suddenly levitates, shooting straight up and crashing against the ceiling, his head hitting it with a painful thud.
Ah, can't you take a joke? Jeez, you broke my head. Ah.
No, don't hurt him.
Still airborne, Howard spun upside down. The code key falls onto the table. Jennings opened his fist. Magically, the code key flies up off the ground and into his glowing hand.
I will now bring down the other dark overlords.
Hey, what about me? I got better things to do than hang around this place.
Jennings' eyes flare and Howard starts shaking violently, spins in the air, and suddenly crashes down onto the table, breaking it. Howard lands on the floor in a heap, and Beverly rushes over to see if he's alive. Eyes flaring fiery red, Jennings moves towards them. Beverly sees him coming, scrambles backwards, and hits a wall. His glowing hand reaches for her. Beverly kicks at him and struggles until he grabs her arm and she screams. His fingers burn into her flesh and her arm smokes. Jennings drags her past Howard, who moves off the floor and manages to look up. His eyes try and focus. Special effect out of focus. Howard sees a blurry image of Beverly being shoved out the door.
No, Beverly.
Howard staggers to his feet and stumbles through the wrecked cafe toward the door. Exterior, the cafe night. Outside the devastated cafe, the door slams shut and detached tractor cab of the mammoth diesel truck. The headlights flash on. Interior, the cafe. As he rushes through the front door, Howard hears the truck's cab engine roaring to life.
Beverly.
Interior, the truck cab. Jennings slams the big engine into gear and accelerates. In the beam of the headlights, Beverly sees Howard running out of the cafe and screams.
No!
Jennings grins evilly and swerves at the steering wheel. Exterior parking lot night. The mammoth truck cab careens toward Howard. He squawks and suddenly dives forward. The huge truck cab roars right over him, wheels spewing gravel. He covers his head. After it's gone, Howard raises his head and strains to stand up.
Never mind.
His head falls and he passes out again. Interior, the truck cab. Beverly looks around and screams, shaking with rage and fear. She shouts at Jennings.
You killed him.
Jennings' fiery eyes fix on her. He opens his mouth, emits a terrifying, otherworldly, gaseous growl, and speaks.
I need your body.
You creep. I've heard that one before.
The Dark Overlords cannot exist on this planet unless they grow inside a human body.
Oh, God. No.
Beverly whimpers and closes her eyes. She doesn't see Jennings' head tipped over the steering wheel. Exterior, the highway night. The truck cab swerves off the road and into a dirt shoulder and throws up a cloud of dirt. Interior, the truck cab. Beverly sees that Jennings looks like he's passed out.
Out.
He forces himself upright and steers back onto the highway.
Tired. Need energy.
He opens the glove compartment. Then he sees the cigarette lighter. He yanks it out and tosses it out the window. Jennings opens his mouth, watching horrified. Beverly screams. A hideous eel-like tentacle tongue slithers out of Jennings' mouth. The slimy tentacle wriggles through the air toward the cigarette lighter and plugs into it.
Jeez, I'm gonna puke. That's the grossest. Oh, God, please let me go. I want to die.
Jennings drives the horrible tentacle tongue stretching from his mouth to the cigarette lighter as his alien system fills up on electrical power. Cut to exterior, a highway night. Police, fire, and paramedic vehicles swerve around the corner with their sirens screaming, and the screen is ablaze with flashing lights. Exterior, the cafe night. Fire crews pull wreckage away from the burning cafe. Lieutenant Weber surveys the damage and survivors give crazed accounts to the cops.
This little duck was his kid, and then I flashed on to the truth. Halloween was 2 months ago.
Walking along, Weber hears another shocked eyewitness.
Guy must have been 8 foot tall. He had ray gun shooting out of his eyes and he was blowing the place to smithereens.
Yeah, it was great.
Exterior parking lot. A uniformed cop gets out of the back of the patrol car, leaving Phil Blumbird alone in the back seat. Interior, the police car. Phil sees the cop check with another cop outside. Phil grimaces and wiggles the handcuffs on his wrists. He looks out at the chaos, then does a double take. Exterior, the parking lot. Near the car is a wishing well for tourists. This one is a bit strange, as it has a duck's head rising up slowly from the inside. Howard peers out fearfully. He notices Phil in the cop car. Phil watches nervously as Howard climbs out of the wishing well. The cop at the front car doesn't see Howard scurry from the wishing well to the back of the patrol car. Howard creeps up to the side window and Phil talks to him quietly.
Howard, they arrested me at the plant. I'm gonna have a criminal record.
Criminal record. All you hairless apes are gonna be dead if we don't stop Jennings.
Dr. Jennings, what are you talking about?
He kidnapped Beverly.
Howard reaches up and starts to open the back door. Cut to exterior the parking, later, night. Workers drag debris away from the cafe. Blending into the work, Phil rolls a metal trash barrel toward the rear storage building. Inside the trash barrel, we see Howard doing dizzying somersaults. Exterior storage building. Phil rolls the barrel behind the building and upends it, exposing Howard, who stands wobbly, eyes spinning in his head.
Jennings headed back to the plant with Beverly.
Why?
He's gonna bring down more of these monsters. He's got big plans, like taking over Earth. Philzy, we gotta get out of here. Use your brain.
Still handcuffed, Phil looks around desperately. He spots a long tarp-covered trailer hitched to a pickup. Sticking out from the back is a metal tail fin.
I think I'm going to regret it, but I've got an idea. Come on.
Phil runs out and dodges behind another car. Howard takes off after him. Exterior rear parking area, night. Phil runs up to the long trailer. The handcuffs make it difficult, but he and Howard manage to pull back the tarp, exposing the aluminum struts of a tiny ultralight airplane.
A plane? Wait a minute, we got a saying on my planet. If God had intended us to fly, he wouldn't have taken away our wings.
Cut to exterior the highway, dawn. The eastern sky glows with the first light of day. The big truck cab roars past in silhouette. Interior the truck cab. Beverly sleeps, then jumps awake as the truck cab goes into a screeching skid and stops. Jennings slams into reverse. The truck cab roars backwards and stops again. Jennings peers out the window and growls. Beverly leans forward and looks, and they see a lighted sign reading, Cuyahoga Nuclear Power Plant.
Power.
Oh.
Exterior nuclear power plant, dawn. The nuclear power plant rises on a hill. At the front gate, the guards check the cars entering. Exterior reactor area, dawn. A security patrol car cruises along a perimeter fence and disappears around the side of the plant. Panning across the deserted landscape, we see headlights flare over a ridge as the truck cab crests a hill and charges like an attacking behemoth. The truck cab belches smoke as it smashes through the perimeter fence and skids to a stop across the wet grass. Cut to interior, the nuclear plant, day. A congressional troop tour group is escorted through the power plant by a PR huckster named Grossback and two company tour guides.
Congressman, I'll be honest. This 3 Mile Island, China Syndrome, meltdown stuff, it's all history. The only meltdown around here are the cheese sandwiches in the toaster oven.
The company guides laugh loudly. The congressman glances around nervously at the huge humming equipment. The guides notice Jennings shuffling along the back, his sweaty, pallid skin, his dark, crazed eyes, his hair frizzing electrically from his head.
Wow, these Washington guys take a real beating on these junkies.
Well, sightseeing all day, broads and booze all night.
Jennings stops with the others at a viewing window where they peer out at the mammoth reactor.
This is the heart of the system. Our nuclear reactor, pumping out 300,000 kilowatts of power.
Exterior the reactor, day. The camera moves in toward the parked truck cab. We hear Beverly shouting for help. Interior the cab. Locked in the sleeper compartment, Beverly struggles to get out of the cords wrapped around her hands and feet. Interior the reactor, day. The tour goes off down the hall and Jennings emerges from behind a wall. His eyes flare and the viewing windows are blasted to smithereens. He moves toward the giant reactor as alarms sound.
Power.
A metal security fence falls out in front of Jennings. His eyes flare and the fence explodes in a shower of sparks. Jennings blasts open the steel door and the blinding light from the core of the reactor flares around him as he walks inside. Interior hallway. Security officers run down the hall, pulling out revolvers. Company supervisors follow. Interior of the reactor area. The men rush into the flames and smoke billowing from the exploded reactor. A mammoth hole ripped into the side of the building shows where Jennings made his exit. Interior of the truck cab day. Having broken free of the cords, Beverly rips open the door of the sleeper compartment, sees something, and screams. Jennings' monstrous face looms into the cab, irradiated by atomic energy, his solarized body and his fiendish face smoke. Cut to exterior cafe parking day. Howard puts a crash helmet and lowers the goggles. Phil sits in behind the tiny skeletal ultralight plane.
Sure, I know how it works. Theoretically.
Phil reaches up, both hands still handcuffed together, and yanks down hard on the D handle of the starter cord. Nothing.
Of course, with these damn handcuffs, you're gonna have to do the real flying.
Me?
Phil yanks down again, and the engine roars.
Grab to the joystick, Howard!
What's a joystick?
Looking like a hang glider with a motor, the tiny ultralight taxis across the lot, its two-cycle chainsaw engine screaming.
More throttle, Howard! More throttle!
Exterior of the cafe day. Lieutenant Weber looks exhausted as he finishes with the sergeants and walks back toward his car.
Don't know what the hell I'm gonna tell them. There's some insane there's something insane going on here, and
They hear an engine whining and look amazed when they see the tiny ultralight sputtering down the back street and raising airborne. For a moment, it's airborne. Then it bounces onto the street again. Exterior of the ultralight. Howard pulls on the joystick as Phil yells instructions.
Say to the pedals! Pull back the stick!
The little plane lifts airborne again. The wind ruffles Howard's feathers and his eyes go wide in his goggles.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Exterior of the cafe. Police cars roar out of the parking lot and squeal off in pursuit of the little plane. Exterior of the street. A normal suburban street goes haywire when people see the ultralight flying very low down the middle of the street. Exterior of the ultralight. Howard holds the joystick with both hands and looks petrified.
We're too low.
Too much weight. It'll take a while to get out, dude.
We don't have a while. Look out.
Exterior of the street. The plane skims directly toward the small mail truck. The mailman dives from the sidewalk. The ultralight banks and skims inches from his truck. Police cars race past, chasing the plane. Exterior, another street. The plane wobbles above the streets. Howard guides it out of town. There is a burst of sirens and a loudspeaker sounds. Land the plane! Land the plane! Howard and Phil see a cop racing past them. Then Howard looks forward again and sees a freeway overpass looming in front of them.
Up, plane, up.
I'll never make it over.
Down, plane.
The ultralight swoops down, and flies under the underpass, scattering the three screaming police cars coming in the opposite direction. Exterior, the ultralight. The plane leaves the town behind and flies into the countryside. Phil shouts to Howard.
We could lose them if we get away from the road.
Howard turns the joystick. Exterior, the road. The plane veers away from the road and flies across the fields. The pursuing police cars do likewise, bouncing over the uneven terrain. Exterior, a farm. A farmer on a tractor suddenly jumps off. The tractor continues driverless. The ultralight zooms over it. The plane screams through the farmyard, scattering animals. A pond full of ducks screech, scatter, and flap airborne. Exterior, the ultralight. Howard looks back at the fleeing ducks.
Sorry, guys.
Exterior farm fields. The little ultralight flies over the fields while the four police cars bounce along below. and 2 more police cars race down a parallel dirt road. Exterior, the plane. Howard and Phil look down at the police cars. Suddenly, gunfire erupts and they both holler.
That's right. It's duck season.
That's not funny.
Pull up, look out.
The plane's headed for a row of trees. Howard pulls back on the joystick. The trees rush closer and closer. Exterior, the trees. The plane barely skims the treetops. Below, the police cars skid to stops and throw up dust clouds as they reach the edge of an irrigation canal. The plane continues across the fields back toward the city. The police cars are left on the other side of the canal. Cut to. Exterior, the highway, day. The truck cab roars past. Interior, the truck cab. Beverly sees flashing lights and road signs reading slow for smog inspection. Jennings downshifts and growls horribly. Exterior smog inspection zone. Cars are lined up with state troopers talk to drivers. A trooper leans into a car window.
This is a smog device inspection. I'd like to know the age of this vehicle and...
The car creeps forward.
I said engine off, please. I'd like to see your registration and...
The car moves forward again.
Shut the engine off.
It's off. Somebody's pushing.
The trooper steps away and sees the truck cab looming behind the line of cars. The diesel's exhaust smokes as it accelerates and shoves the line of cars forward. Interior, the truck cab. Jennings floors it. Horns honk, people shout, and Beverly sees troopers running up.
What the hell are you doing? Get out of that truck. Turn off the engine.
Jennings raises his hand and a ray shoots out. One trooper is hit and his body starts shaking uncontrollably. People watch horrified as the trooper's body dissolves into swirling atoms and then explodes. State troopers open fire and the truck's cab window is smashed. Beverly screams, Jennings roars, and his eyes flare. Exterior, the highway. The whole inspection area is abruptly annihilated in an atomic explosion which mushrooms and flares the screen white, turning the scene into an X-ray negative image. Interior, the truck cab. Beverly screaming. She opens her eyes and looks out. Flames are dying down, but nothing remains. No cars, no people. Jennings growls and smiles evilly.
Smog inspection.
He steps on the gas. Exterior, the highway. The truck cab roars off, leaving behind a black ring of smoky pavement and scorched wheat fields. Exterior, Cleveland day. The ultralight flies 1,000 feet above the city. Exterior, the plane. Howard looks as Phil points the aerodyne below them.
There's the plant.
The truck's there.
We'll get ready to land.
Land? I don't know how to land.
Suddenly, the engine sputters and coughs. Phil lifts a clear plastic hose and sees the last of the gasoline running down it.
You're about to learn we're out of gas.
Exterior aerodyne plant. The ultralight appears over the plant and noses down radically. Exterior, the plane. The speed increases as Howard tries to control the joystick.
This isn't gonna work. Think of something else, Phil.
Phil looks around and spots a ring dangling from a compartment. He lifts his handcuffed hands and pulls on the ring. There is a small explosion as a ballistic charge opens the canopy. Exterior, the aerodyne plant. A parachute billows and the ultralight and its passengers bob and weep as they float to the ground. Exterior, the parking lot. The plane crashes into the parking lot and the wings fall off. Howard and Phil crawl out of the wreckage.
Howard, what the hell makes you think we can stop him?
Beverly said there are no accidents in the universe, that maybe I was sent here for some cosmic cause.
What cosmic cause?
Phil runs after Howard to the back of the plant where they take cover. Howard looks serious.
We know that laser didn't malfunction when it brought me here. Well, what if it was being directed by some cosmic protector who hit his target, me?
Hit you for what?
So I'd be here to save Beverly and this planet.
Howard, you shouldn't be in Cleveland. You should try California. They have cults devoted to nuts like you. Wow.
Maybe I was sent here to keep all you hairless apes from becoming extinct like your dinosaurs.
Howard starts for the rear door and Phil follows him. Interior Aerodyne plant, day. A door opens slowly and Phil peeks into the hallway.
Quit pushing. This is crazy.
Howard shoves him and they start quietly down the deserted hall.
Phil, no duck is an island. And if fate sent me here to save Earth, then Howard the Duck is ready to fight.
But what about me?
You're ready to fight too. Phil, you've got guts. You're smart. Despite what I've said in the past, and I need you. Come on.
Interior the lab. Phil opens the door and they look into the lab. They hear a noise and run up behind some equipment. Howard peeks out and sees Beverly. She's strapped to a metal table beneath a laser spectroscope. She struggles, but her arms are locked tight.
Howard!
Howard moves to the other side of the power generator where Phil points to the control console. Jennings stands there, body glowing, his eyes fiery and zombie-like. He manipulates dials, punches buttons automatically.
He's running the activation sequence.
Geez, he's gonna bring down another Dark Overlord. We've got to get Beverly out of there.
Howard starts to run out. Phil grabs him by the collar and pulls him back.
Take it easy, Conan. What are you going to do to stop him? You've got to find... Wait, Carter showed me something once that might do it. If we can find it.
Interior a hall, day. Phil and Howard run down a connecting hallway until Phil skids to a stop by a door that reads Defense Research. He opens the door and Howard follows him inside. Interior the lab. Back in the lab, the table to which Beverly is strapped starts rotating and she stares at the frightening laser equipment zeroing in on her body. Interior Defense Research Section. Phil beats on the metal door with a sledgehammer while Howard pries the bottom open with a crowbar. Interior supply cage. The door finally bursts open and Phil and Howard rush in. Phil rummages through dusty, outmoded equipment until he finally spots something inside a fenced cage. Howard follows Phil and helps him pull the tarp off an impressive, highly sophisticated small field weapon.
What's that?
The neutron disintegrator. It was developed for the army until the cost overruns became really embarrassing.
Can it stop Jennings?
Theoretically, yes. Unfortunately, it was never tested.
The disintegrator is a bazooka-like weapon with a huge backpack. Howard tries to pick it up and can't.
Ugh, give me a break.
We'll have to modify it.
Phil runs over to a power supply cart and starts throwing off boxes. He sees a large chain cutter and calls to Howard.
Here, help me cut these damn handcuffs.
Interior the lab, day. Back in the lab, Jennings' glowing finger pushes a button. His decaying face looks toward Beverly. Panning up from the table on which she is strapped, we see the giant ceiling skylight opening. Interior, a hall. Phil and Howard push the power cart into the hall. Phil finishes tying the neutron disintegrator to the cart with the ropes.
Is this like stick shift or automatic?
Howard examines the cart's drive levers.
We have to get into firing range without him seeing you.
Right, I'll sneak up on him and then blast him to... What's this do? Yeah!
Howard's hit the wrong lever and the cart suddenly takes off down the hall. Panicked, Howard and Phil race after it. Interior the lab. The code key is slipped into the console. A humming noise begins, moving up in tone as it grows intensely. Jennings looks over at Beverly. She hears the noise and lights on the laser spectroscope start to flash around her.
Go ahead, change me into a Dark Overlord. I'm still gonna spit in your wormy face.
Okay.
Hearing a noise, Jennings turns. He sees Phil and Howard chasing the runway power cart through the lab. He pulls out the code key and the laser spectroscope shuts down.
Word.
The powered cart whizzes past camera in a moment, and Howard and Phil follow. We hear a crash as the cart collides with the wall. Bits and pieces fly into the air. The engine sparks and smokes. Howard and Phil skid up to the cart and throw debris off of it.
I think it's broken.
Get on. Quick, here he comes.
Phil looks around and quickly lifts Howard onto the cart. Howard pulls a lever and the cart whines like a cold Ford Pinto and then stalls. Phil sees Jennings stalking around the lab toward them. Jennings raises his hand and suddenly there's an explosion and Phil is thrown through the air.
Philzy!
Howard keeps pushing levers, but the cart seems stuck. Phil crawls behind some equipment.
Jump, Howard. It's not working. Get out of there.
Another explosion blows a hole in the wall near Howard. Finally, he gets the cart started and into gear. It screams backward and fishtails around and into position.
Woo! Here we go.
Howard floors the power cart and takes off with a screech of tires. Howard zooms along the cart behind the rows of equipment and testing tables. As the cart circles the lab, Howard pats the neutron disintegrator.
Okay, good boy. Get ready now. We're gonna blast him.
Meanwhile, Phil is running, trying to avoid Jennings. Suddenly, Jennings spots him and raises his hand. Phil hollers and grabs a giant polished reflector. While Jennings launches another energy bolt, the ray strikes the reflector, ricochets, and knocks Phil on his butt. The reflected bolt explodes in front of Jennings and he staggers. Then he sees Howard approaching on the speeding power cart.
Little pond hopper.
Jennings opens his mouth and a gaseous smoke spews out as he emits his horrible, otherworldly signature howl. As the cart races across the floor, the wind whips Howard's feathers and he aims the neutron disintegrator.
So long, Dark Overlord.
Howard flips a switch and the barrel of the disintegrator hums and glows a cold fluorescent blue. Jennings raises his hand and a piece of equipment near Howard is blasted to bits in a fiery, sparking explosion. Howard swerves the cart and continues charging forward. This is the final duel. Jennings raises his hand as Howard races directly toward him on the power cart. A bolt of energy streaks across the lab and hits the cart. Howard is electrified and his body starts shaking. Phil watches horrified. Beverly raises her head and shouts. Shaking, his body becomes translucent. Howard loses control of the swerving cart. He struggles and raises his finger toward the trigger of the disintegrator. Howard lunges. His finger hits the button. The neutron disintegrator suddenly erupts and a bolt of energy flashes across the lab in the opposite direction. Jennings is hit, and there's a blinding flash of light. Howard covers his face with his arms, and the cart skids out of control. Phil squints and then opens his eyes. Jennings is gone. Phil starts across the lab. He reaches the empty spot where Jennings stood. Then hears something. Moaning. Howard jumps off the cart and joins Phil to get a look at Jennings lying on the floor. His body no longer glows, but it smokes as if he's been electrocuted. Jennings opens his eyes.
He's alive. Keep him from being totally demolished. His power must be incredible.
No, no power, not anymore. It was no accident you were brought to Earth.
Phil looks at Howard. His intuition was right.
We were just pawns, Howard. You and me in some cosmic game of good and evil. I'm out of the game now. I'm no longer a Dark Overlord.
Jeez, I can't keep up with your life changes.
Jennings motions Howard closer. He grimaces as he talks.
I've been released. Howard, it's not
Not what?
Not inside me anymore.
the explosion released it. It's loose. The Dark Overlord is still here.
This is not good news. You don't happen to know where he went, do you?
Jennings shakes his head.
I suggest we get Beverly and get the hell out of here.
Across the lab, Beverly lies strapped to the table. Howard and Phil rush up and start unstrapping her.
I've been so scared. I feel like I've got tarantulas dancing in my stomach.
We're on our way out, sweetheart. Nothing's gonna hurt you now.
Howard?
Howard is unstrapping her and doesn't see the giant shadow on the wall indicating the Dark Overlord's presence.
What?
Howard looks around and squawks. They all stare in horror as the giant shadow on the wall appears in reality. A 7-foot-tall monster, loathsome, hideous, powerful.
Am I paranoid, or does this thing look like
a duck?
The monster has gray reptilian skin, but it does resemble a hideous, evil version of a duck. Its oozing and squirming tentacles writhe in the air.
It's starting to transform. Let's take Howard's shape.
nobody's jumping inside these feathers? Let's get out of here.
They run toward the neutron disintegrator, but the monster shrieks and shoots out a tentacle. It flies through the air and wraps like a squirming snake around Howard's leg. As Beverly and Phil watch, Howard is reeled in like a fish by the slithering tentacle. Now another tentacle shoots out toward the laser spectroscope. The tentacle picks up the code key, shoves it into the console, and the laser spectroscope whines and starts flashing.
Howard!
It started the spectroscope.
Beverly and Phil run toward Howard, but the monster shoots out 2 rays which immobilize them. They start to shake in the early stages of dematerialization.
Help! Howard!
Meanwhile, Howard slides backward along the floor, pulled by the tentacle around his leg. He grabs hold of a table and starts sliding too. Objects start falling off the table. Howard spots a vicious-looking wood carving axe. He reaches out desperately and snatches it. Howard rolls over and swings the axe and the tentacle around his leg. He slashes it in 2. The monster screams and the tentacle squirts greenish mung fluid. Howard jumps up to his feet. As Beverly and Phil shake and begin to dematerialize, Howard dashes to the cart and jumps on board. Howard pushes the button. The neutron disintegrator flares to life. Howard skids the cart into position and fires. The monster is hit, and there's a blinding flash. Beverly and Phil are knocked back against the laser spectroscope.
There's more coming down.
In a beam of light sliding down from the open ceiling port, 3 monstrous shapes are materializing.
Machine, Howard, you've got to destroy it.
Oh, no, you'll never get home.
Howard thinks a moment.
Goodbye, Duck World.
He pulls a lever. The neutron disintegrator's muzzle aims at the laser spectroscope. Howard fires. The massive surging explosion is largest yet. Everything is obliterated in the light of 100 suns. The laser spectroscope explodes into a zillion tumbling pieces, and smoke mushrooms over the laboratory. Phil crawls out from under the pieces of metal and smashed electronics. He stumbles blindly through the smoke toward Beverly. He throws debris off her, and she looks at him anxiously.
Where's Howard?
They both scramble around looking for him. Finally, they uncovered a feather hand, and then they find his face in the rubble. Howard lies covered with dust like an ash-covered, mummified dead of Pompeii. Beverly kneels by her little fallen warrior.
I don't know where you've gone now, but I hope you're happy you're there. This world treated you badly, and yet you saved it.
His head moves, and Beverly gasps.
Howard?
His eyes open slowly. He stares at them.
I'm not Howard anymore.
He sits up slowly, and a dusty shaft of light illuminates his pale, spectral face. His eyes seem to glow. His mouth opens, and he suddenly emits the same horrible, otherworldly hissing. Beverly and Phil jump away until Howard starts coughing.
Ah, jeez. All this dust, murder on my sinuses. I fooled you guys, didn't I?
Across the lab, Lieutenant Weber enters with the 2 cops. They wander through the devastation. They find Beverly, Phil, and Howard helping Jennings sit upright.
You're muted.
Sorry. This is where I came in last night. I'm right back where I started.
Not exactly. In between time, Howard saved Earth.
Uh-huh. Get a paramedic in here.
For him?
No, for me.
Weber sits down slowly on a stool. Over this, we hear applause and cheering. Interior Club 86 night. A screaming, chanting, capacity crowd roars as Cherry Bomb appears on stage. Beverly fingers her guitar and starts an instrumental intro.
I'm Beverly, and I'd like to introduce Caldonia on drums. Woo!
Cal beats out a fast riff, and the audience applauds.
Casey on bass guitar, and my lady Ronette. We're glad to be here tonight. You didn't hear, but yesterday Cleveland was almost destroyed.
The audience goes wild, shouting and cheering happily.
I'd like to dedicate this song to our new manager.
Beverly slashes out a riff on her guitar, and Cherry Bomb explodes into a hard, fast number called Howard the Duck.
Falling down, he crashed, yelling loud, wide-eye hash. Now he's gonna make a buck, Howard the Duck.
Beverly turns and winks to somebody off stage. Off stage, Howard paces while Phil operates a lightning control panel.
Ah, they're blowing it. They're slow on the backbeat.
You're crazy. The audience loves them.
Strobe's on. Hit the smoke.
Phil steps over and flips switches on an effects board. On stage, as the strobe lights flash, smoke starts billowing across the stage. Beverly sings a solo passage.
No job, no home, no hiding place. Let's get him back to outer space. His goose is cooked.
Casey flails the sticks to the drum solo while Beverly and the girls do some mock Motown move.
Now heads are really shaking and fouls are being made. Is Howard truly genuine? Was he really late? Ain't no pat.
Off stage, Howard shakes his head angrily.
That's not right. I told him a million times how to do it.
Howard, you think it's so easy? Let's see you do it.
Howard thinks a moment, then rips off his jacket.
Give me a mic.
Phil throws him one and starts to plug it in. The fuse box sparks and smokes.
What are you doing? What's wrong? Yeah!
On stage, the girls continue their driving song.
You think we're pulling your leg about this hard-boiled egg?
Suddenly, Beverly Hills hears a wail, and the girls turn to see Howard catapulted into the air above the stage. His short-circuited little arms and legs are splayed out, and blue flames shoot from his body as he's electrocuted.
Well, take a look!
The audience goes nuts. Thinking this is a great effect, they cheer and applaud. Phil watches from off stage, looking horrified. Howard hits the floor, somersaults, screams, and spins as he frantically tries to get rid of the electrified mic cord sticking to his leg like an octopus.
Coming like a hurricane, my 3-foot soul train, my loving little feather brain, top talking, short walking, loud squawking, Howard the Duck.
Howard finally kicks off the cord and then freezes with stage fright as he looks at the cheering audience.
Howard! Howard! Howard!
What are you going to do for an encore?
Howard thinks a moment and suddenly spins, points to the audience, and yells like James Brown. The crowd cheers as Howard starts singing along with the girls. Little Howard prances across the stage like a little Richard, and then slips naturally into Chuck Berry's famous duck walk. The audience goes nuts, clapping and cheering. Phil watches off stage and smiles slowly. The girls pour on the music and Howard rocks out. We see his web feet performing some Michael Jackson backwards sliding moonwalking. Born to sing, born to dance, this little feathered Mick Jagger struts, twists, jumps, and wiggles into the finale. Howard turns and he and Beverly finish in a duet. The girls laugh and hit the final chords.
You brought us luck, Howard the Duck.
The crowd whistles, hoots, and stomps as the music finishes. Howard drops his head and bows modestly. He puts out his hand and Beverly takes it. Laughing, they bow together and the screen fades to black. The Howard theme hits again as the end credits roll. The end.
You guys all did an amazing job. I love this movie so much. I probably shouldn't admit that in a public forum or in front of my friends, but I love you guys. Everyone did a wonderful job. If you're watching, thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Anne. Happy birthday.
Thank you.